Thanks, Brandon!
Oh, goodness.
Yep, I've forgotten what my real face looks like.
No scars, though.
He does.
I was bleeding. What's just like you makes me an anomaly, an aberration. Watch the switch. You're too young to be on steroids, but...
Chair, are we going? Give me my Donka. Okay. So, Aaron Orion. Yeah. You are my absolute favorite wrestler in the whole entire world.
Thank you.
Like the whole entire world. So, promise I'm okay. How did you get started? Like, I know like bits and pieces of it, but I want to hear it.
So we started wrestling like in our backyard on a trampoline, and it was like me and 3 of my best friends. And we wrestled on a trampoline, and we'd tape it all, we would take it to school and show all of our friends. We would like, not necessarily sell tickets, but we'd like invite our friends from school.
How old were you?
Like 14 or
Oh,
something.
all right.
Probably even 13, because and we'd invite our like friends from school to come like watch us wrestle on the trampoline. And then eventually my older brother was in class with a girl, and she was like, oh, I have a friend who's a wrestler too, and she is like a
Yeah, this honey badger just don't care, so. See ya.
So she knew somebody who was a wrestler too.
So she was like, oh, I know someone who's a wrestler. So my brother was like, hey, like, I have a friend, her name's Tila, and beep out her name, but you don't have to.
Oh, okay, good, because I'm still trying to learn how to do that.
And I was like, oh, like, you know, in my head it was like somebody who's like wrestling in their backyard or something like that too. And so there was a company called the MWO, Michigan Wrestling Organization, and it was like ran out of like the Flint area.
Okay.
And it was essentially what would be considered like a backyard wrestling company.
Okay.
But it had like a ring and everything like that. And
oh, my bad.
Son of a bitch. But it was
He might need something though, and now I feel bad.
fuck them. So what are we talking about?
You thought it was a backyard?
So he was like, I'm going to introduce you to Tila, and you know, figure out what's going on with that.
Okay.
So like it's in my head, I'm like 14. At this point, I would have been like 15.
Okay.
And I meet her, and she's like, yeah, I have a friend, and they do this company called the MWO, which we have no idea what this is or anything like that. They have like a website. It's like mwowrestling.org or net or something like that. And it's just like a bunch of pictures of guys like next to, you know, like their promo pictures are like next to like a shed or something like that. So like, I just am assuming that it's like a backyard, like an actual like backyard wrestling company.
Fair enough.
So then we were like, so she's like, yeah, you guys come to the show one day. So like me, Adam Sniper, who's like my best friend, and a couple other guys, like we pile into this car and we go to Otisville, which is like a small town, like, I don't know, like half hour away, 20 minutes away, whatever.
Okay.
And then we go there and we pull up to like a VFW hall. And we're like, oh, okay, like this is something
It's a little
here.
fancy.
And then we go in there and they have like basically like what would be considered like a homemade ring in there. And there's like 40, 50 people in the crowd, but it's like, it's a ring. Like it's not a good ring, but to like a 15-year-old, I'm like, oh shit, like this is crazy.
That probably was pretty impressive.
And like that's where I met like Jeff Brooks and a guy named Sean Cypher, and he never like left this place. He actually doesn't wrestle on anymore. But in the one thing I remember being there is that even though this ring is like so makeshift, he does a shooting star press off the top rope, and it like blows our mind. And we were like, oh shit, like we want to do this, like. So we talked to the owner, his name's Jason Klaus, and we're like, how do we get in this? Like, we want to do this. And he's like, you guys are 15 and 16 years old. The guy was the youngest out of our group. And they were like, you have to like have your parent like sign off on like a waiver and stuff like that. And you guys can come. And like they had like a training school, which I guess like every promotion has a training school. It's like they're even more weird. Is like they're a training school for like a legitimate like backyard wrestling company. But like,
that just seemed kind of like contradictory.
So I I'm saying this in a way where I feel like I'm like disparaging the MWO, but and they're not around anymore, but I fucking love the MWO. Like I wouldn't be here without them. We went back, me, Jack, and Vendetta, we went back, and Wick, who came from the MWO as well. So did Jack.
Did everybody?
Not everybody.
Okay.
But Adam Wick and Jack Price both came from the MWO.
Okay.
And that's like where I'd met them. Is like I'd go back there just supporting them because like I always appreciated them for what they did for me, even if it's just like they were there and I don't know, as if I wouldn't have found that place. I remember we looked up schools and it was like $1,800, $2,000. It's like I know that I was never paying that. Like
no.
So it's like without the MWO, there's like a good chance that I would have never became a wrestler.
And that would have been sad.
Yeah, I mean
that would have been sad.
And so like like I said, I'm saying this stuff and it's like but I love them and I always supported them. I always went back to shows. I always tried to help guys. I like but so back there, so like my mom signs the like waiver or whatever, and we come back like and they're doing shows like every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But now they just got like a new venue, and it was at a place called Terry's Lounge in Flint, and it was like the trashiest bar ever. And it was like and it wasn't like back in but it was like you could still smoke in bars. So it was
yeah, that was
so,
a little while ago.
We were like, I was 15, and like we would all we'd get dropped off at the show, and we would like help set up this like makeshift ring that's like held together, with like ratchet straps and like all this kind of stuff, and and it's like, and we got to get in the ring and start like doing stuff. But like what was different, I think, about us compared to like the guy, there was a handful of guys who were like really talented there, and a lot of guys who should have left and like
didn't for whatever reason.
Yeah, and like but I think what set us apart is like when we were even like backyard wrestlers, we were like, we wanted to be like real wrestlers. So it's like we'd watch like Tough Enough, like the original Tough Enough, and like we used that to like teach ourselves like how to bump like on our trampoline, like on a mattress, like because we didn't want we went into this as like 15, 16-year-old kids, like not that we were doing it right, but we knew how to lock up, we knew how to do these things, and we like taught ourselves this stuff, but like we weren't like, I guess like in the sense of like we were backyard wrestlers for sure, but we weren't like what I imagine as a backyard wrestler. We weren't that. We were like kids who were like, we're going to be wrestlers. Like that's what we want to do. So we want to know how to do it right. Because someday we're going to get into a ring and we're going to like. So we get in there and like immediately like we're bumping and we're running the ropes and we're doing all this different stuff and it's just like we're doing it. Like it's like. Was
there anything that you like learned yourself that you had to relearn while you were being trained or learn differently? Like you were like, oh man, certainly. I didn't get this.
Like I felt like we were never bumping probably the exact way. Definitely like getting off the mat like after you bump, that was like hard because like that was like one thing that we didn't know, because like everything in wrestling is like there's like steps per everything. So it's like even if you're looking at like a lockup into like a wrist lock, there's 2 steps that go into that.
Yeah.
And you'll see guys and they'll fumble all over the ring and stuff like that when they do a wrist lock and whatever. But like if you're looking at it, it's like I always looked at it as like a kid. It's like if you're playing a video game, you got 2 lives. And if you and your lives are like your steps that you're taking through this. So it's like you go lock up and you got 1 step with your left and you could pivot on your right and then you come back with your left and that's your 2 steps. You can't take any more. And it was like, so like, and I don't know why it was like a big deal to me, but it was always like, I love chain wrestling and stuff like that. So it's like, we would be in there with guys who are like, well, this is, and they're like, once again, I'm like talking shit about them, but I'm not, but they're like, this is how you wrestle, kid. And they'd show us some bullshit and they'd be like, doing a headlock on the right side or their foot would be forward. And like, and at the time, like we didn't know enough to be like, hey, I don't think that's right. But you could, I felt like I could just see it and be like, come on, like, I know that's wrong. But we were just happy. It didn't even matter. And like, so there was a lot of different stuff where like we definitely like the one thing that we definitely learned was just like how to put the matches together, like the psychology of a match. Like we learned that a lot from like Levi Blue, who was like my first trainer. Like he came in like right around the same time that we got there, and he was already like a Michigan wrestling legend by that point. And somehow him and Jason, the owner, had got like linked up somehow, and he came to this place and started like actually doing training. So he was like, from from then it was like we were getting trained by like an actual wrestler.
Okay.
And then it was like, that was like game changing for that time. So then we became like referees. And like, and this kind of goes like back to like some of my friends were like, I don't want to be a fucking referee, man. I'm here for a wrestler. And I had that same thought too, as like being 15, but I was also like, I'm in the ring, dude. Like, this is as cool as it gets.
I mean,
like,
it is pretty dope.
Yeah. So like, I'm in there like going ham as a wrestler. And but I'm also like paying attention, but I'm like, I'm in it. So like, we're out there, we're and obviously we want to be wrestlers, but it's like I'm like fully committed into this being a ref, and I'm paying attention. I'm listening to how they talk to each other in the ring, and like
it's a learning experience.
Yeah, and I felt like that helped me a ton. And like, and then we like get like promoted to like be wrestlers, and we had this like a group that we like made, like a faction when we were like backyards, and we're the OPN, the only perfect nation. That was like our gimmick.
Okay.
So then they're like, okay, well, you guys are going to be a group of like, you guys are a bunch of like young high school kids. You know, like we want you guys to kind of have that same like, you know, like high school ego coming in here. And we're like, okay, so we're going to be the OPN, and we thought we were cool as shit. And then we just started having like really good matches with like, I don't know, like, so they had different divisions, of course. So like they had like the heavyweight championship, and that was like where all like the buddies did, like all the owner and his friends as kids, and they would just go and like have bad matches. And then they had like the tag team stuff, which like was doing all right. Like I don't think they had like a lot of focus on it like when I had first started there. And then they had like a Great Lakes title, and then they had the Impact. So before like TNA was TNA at that time, but they had the Impact title, and that's where they put all the guys who would like hit each other hard and wanted to do cool moves and wanted to jump off the top rope. And so that's where we all ended. It's like we're the guys who like the older guys don't want to wrestle, so they made this like division of like these younger guys who were like
who actually
out here.
want to wrestle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like a strong style.
Kind of, but we're also like
sort of.
we're just like in there shit in the bed. Like we were having good matches for like 15, 16 years old. And then we meet Xavier Justice, who runs Pure Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
He comes in to do like a couple shows, and he wants to start a school. And he's like, dude, like you guys should just come out to like he had like a barn, because he lives like on I guess technically in a farm, but he has horses and stuff. He has like a horse barn. And he was like, dude, we'll set up a ring, and I'll teach you guys this stuff.
Okay.
And we were like, yeah, dude, that's awesome.
I wondered how you got connected with PPW.
Yeah, so he had came and like did some shows. Him and Levi were a tag team for a while back in this day. So it's like 2006, 7, 8-ish. And we go, and then like and it's weird because like his school doesn't run this way anymore, but I always have felt, and I don't see a lot of schools run like this, but the way that he was like a young man at this time, the way that he had like laid out the training regiment is like, by this time we knew how to bump. We knew, and I say this to all of the kids, it's like, if you know how to take your bumps, the 3 bumps, if you know how to take those, the moves don't matter. Every move is one of those bumps. So if you know how to take a back bump, you know how to take a front bump, you know how to take a face bump, and then you can like spike and stuff like that, but you don't have to. Like you'll never see me like doing like a spike up for like a DDT or something like that.
Okay.
But like, if you know the 3 fundamentals of taking a bump, every move is, you know, like they're all part of those 3 bumps. So it's like we knew all the moves, we knew all the we knew how to do all that stuff. So it's like we focused a lot on like learning chain stuff, which we all 5 of us were really like. So it's like me and my 4 friends. We met a guy named Cody Manning, who's still in PPW now. He's great, a great friend, and so he was coming. He's like another kid, like 18 years old, and he's coming from. I don't even know how but he just ends up. We're meeting him for the first time like at this like horse barn, and we go out there and we would go for like 8 hours a day, and it was just like the best time. But the way he structured out the mat, like the training was like, you'd go in, you'd do like 3 or 4 moves, and we'd blow through that so fast. Like Cody had never wrestled before, so like we really have to spend some time with him because he had never bumped, he had never done any of that stuff. But we had already been doing that for like 3 years at this point.
Oh shoot!
And like, but then we started doing so we do like, you're gonna do like today we're gonna learn like snap mirror, snap suplex, and back suplex, whatever. But like those are our moves for the day.
Okay.
And we probably do 5 of them. So there'd be like 5 moves that we learn, and then you'd go into like, okay, there's 7 steps of psychology for a match, and so like to run a basic match, you establish who's heel or face. You have a shine to put the baby face over. You have a cutoff. You have the heat. And then you have a comeback. You have false finishes, and you have finishes.
Yep.
So that is the structure that every match is built off of. And every like training session, we would go over one of those steps.
That's so smart.
Yeah, and I don't know why like he doesn't really do it anymore. I've never been to a school that does it like this, but I felt like it was just like amazing. Like it was like we go and like. And in the first couple of steps, it feels like we were like wasting our time. But they're like, you're going to go out there and establish who's the other face. And we'd be entering through like the aisle of this horse barn, establishing like who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
But it's important because they need to know if you're going to sell something, you need to make sure you're selling.
And it would be like every time it's like, you're going to be this type of person. Like this is going to be your gimmick. And then like, okay, go come up with your own stuff. But if someone else does it, you have to come up with something different. So like we would just spend like 3 hours just doing entrances, like, and
oh wow,
and then he would be like, I don't know who's the healer face. You guys didn't do that. Like you didn't show. Like this is your chance to show me who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. And he'd be like, I don't know because you guys didn't show me in your entrances. Like who's healer and who's face. And we're like, oh shit, back and go back again. And you do it, and you just like, so that was like the first like week or so or whatever. And then like the second week, okay, well now we're gonna do the shine. So it's like, okay, well we know by this point we have known, even though we know moves, we only know 10 moves. Because we only are doing the moves that we're learning.
Okay.
So then like we'd be like, okay, well like we have to come up with a shine that would be derivative of those 10 moves that we did.
Oh.
So then it would be like, you'd have to challenge yourself to be like, okay, well how do we put together a shine that only uses these handful of moves? And then we do the shine. So then everybody would go through a shine. So then everyone would also go through taking a shine. And then he would go through and just be like, hey, do this, do this, do this. Like I would change this, maybe think about this, whatever. And then we'd be like, okay, cool. And then we'd do that. And then, so like basically like every week, or like maybe like some steps of would be more than 1 week of training or whatever. But like we basically just went through like every step of a match is a week of training or whatnot. And then we just like, and then so like once we got to like step 5, you would run the full match up. So you'd do like step 5 a bunch.
Okay.
And then you'd go through from start to finish all the way up to step 5, to step 3.
So you're learning them individually and then
putting them all together.
Yes.
And it was like, and then by the end of it, we're just running like full matches every day. And then
you've got to have it almost down pat by then.
I felt so good about it.
I think that would bolster somebody's confidence a great deal because you're so sure of what you're doing.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I left there. We went back to like the MWO, like kind of part-time at this point, but we were doing like small level indie stuff too.
Okay.
And we were like, and so now like I'm tagging with one of my friends. His name was Evan Epic. And
that's fun.
Yeah, he was cool. He doesn't wrestle anymore, which breaks my heart. So his name's Adam, not Adam Sniper. So it was a different Adam Swinney. Evan Epic was his wrestling name, and he was a kid that he had like a rough childhood, and kind of notoriously what my mom always did is like she would just let these kids like move into our house like anytime that there was any issues.
That mom.
So like, and we loved it. Like we were just like, so all of our friends got to live with us and stuff like that. And he was like one of those kids that was just like so good at everything. Like he just like, you could put him with a basketball and he could play basketball.
Oh.
You could give him a football. He could do a football. Like, so then when he met us and we started getting into wrestling and stuff, he was like, oh, I love wrestling too. Like, so then like, and he would be, he was the guy that could just climb up to the top rope and do like a spiral tap. He could chain, he could do any of this stuff. So him and I started tagging.
Okay.
And we start going to these like lower level shows and we start doing really, really well. And we're in the MWO and now we're like having like matches that the MWO has never seen. Like
you're fancy now.
Yeah, like we're going nuts.
All right.
And eventually like we have a show and we have a match. And I'm sure that the match is not good. And we get in the back and like I don't know, there's a lot of different stuff going on at this time with Xavier Justice. He was like I don't know, like I don't know what was going on with him in his like regular life and stuff like that, but he was like what was kind of normal at this time was like everyone was kind of like living like a rock star life, like as like an indie guy, and like like they would go out to the fair like and do like the Genesee County Fair. They'd be out there for like a week and they'd do shows every day and they like party every day.
That is like it's like Woodstock or something.
Yeah, and like so and that was never for me. Like I didn't party, I didn't drink, I didn't do any of that stuff. So like but like I felt like during that time I probably was like very overconfident in myself because I thought I was pretty sweet, and but also like it was just like kind of like the attitude changed from him as well. Like and then so like he became like he was our coach and he was like always like so good with us and like teaching us and like I just remember like we go in the back, and like I said, the match is probably bad. And we go in the back, and he like is yelling at me in front of all these people, and I was just like, no, like,
Yeah.
And then he does the same thing to Hakim Zainer, like who is a Rohit Raju is the class after us that went to Xavier Justice's school. And something happened like this, like kind of, I don't know exactly what happened, but kind of a very similar situation happened with him. And from that day, we were just like, dude, we're done. Like, we're not doing.
I mean, fair enough.
And I was pissed, and basically it's like never talked to him again for years, not never. And then so then like I leave there, and I meet Chris Corvus, who's a Truth Martini student at that time. Well, he's graduated, but he's like a very old school wrestler. Okay. And we start getting CIW, which is a company that kind of runs down like the Adrian area. They are doing really, really big shows, like 500 people.
That is like, big. Holy crap.
Yeah, like, and they're doing like every month they just have like a gigantic show. They have a bunch of like old like 80s legends on the shows and stuff like that. And we go down there, and Phil Nitro, like he just like likes us, and he's like, yeah, guys, just keep coming down, do this. And then he kind of like takes us with him, because he's teaming with the Road Warriors, because he's a big gigantic man, and like he looks like he could be a Road Warrior. He looks like Demolition, so he's getting all these like crazy opportunities, because he loves pro wrestling, but he's a big like 1980s fan, and like grew up in that, but he also like he wrestles that exact same way. Okay. So then him and Malice were a team, and then me and Corvus were a team, and we just went like all over, like from Florida to Michigan, just traveling with Phil, and he just took us with us, and we just wrestled him everywhere.
That's dope.
And it was huge. Like, and we had all these matches that were like very old school, and like just at the time I was just happy to be there. So I was like, yeah, dude, I'll do whatever you want. But then when we started getting comfortable, we're like, man, I don't want to wrestle like this. This isn't what I want to do. So we started like being able to like incorporate like a more modern style into our stuff, but still using like the same kind of like ethos that like the 1980s, like working the crowd and being big and taking your time. Like we used a lot of that, but also was able to like bring some more modern, like cool stuff, the stuff that I like, into it. And then that went on for like a couple of years. We were doing really well. And then
and how old are you about this point then?
Like 23.
Okay.
Because then I go to the Army, and it basically like it's like,
that's why I was wondering when that fit in. You were like wrestle, and
so like I wanted to do the military like when I was 18 or 19. Okay. And everyone just didn't want me to go, and I wanted to go, but also I was like, it's scary.
I mean, and yeah.
Like everyone's like, no, like just don't go, and I was like, okay, like, and then I just was like always like regretting it. And then my little brother was going to join the Army, and I remember like we were in his truck. He had to drop something off, like paperwork or something, to the like recruiting office, and we go in there. And at this time, like I'm not like super jacked, but I'm like in pretty good shape. I'm a wrestler. Like, I'm doing a bunch of shows. Like I walk in there, and the recruiting sergeant is like, "Why aren't you in the Army?" And I was like, "Well, I always wanted to be like." And then he was like, "Dude, just do it." Like, and I was like, "Well, it's not. I got a kid. I got this." And it was like, and he basically was just like, "Fuck that." And we talked for like an hour, and then he was just like, "Dude, you should do it." And then I called my wife, who was like, and I was just like, "Hey, I think I'm going to go to the military." And she like freaks out, and I was like, "No."
I mean, I can't really hardly say I blame her.
No, not at all. But at this time, like we didn't really have anything going for us. Like we were just like, I don't know, just like I was wrestling and just like hanging out. And I always thought to myself that like if I don't do it, I will get to an age where like I will regret it, and I won't be able to fix that.
Yeah, because you won't be able to do it after a certain age.
And I just like I always remember like, I don't remember this as a made up situation, but I always think about this situation of like, not that it hasn't happened, but like an old man sitting at like a diner, and like the waitress or whatever coming up to him and is like, you know, I was almost in the military. Like I thought about joining, and just like that guy telling this random waitress like about how he almost did this. And then like I was like, I don't want to be that guy. Like, so I'm just going to do it. And it's like, even if I hate it, it's 3 years or 4 years.
That's a good attitude, because that's a long time to, even if I hate it.
But it's like I didn't feel like I would hate it. I thought I would love it. And like,
but why did you want to join?
I don't know. Like it's probably the same thing for like wrestling. It's like I wanted to be like, I don't know, like special. I don't know. It's like I felt like something was missing. Like even though I was wrestling, I was like, and I was doing fairly well for a guy who, like, you know, at this point,
sounds
we officially got trained at like 18, 19.
Okay.
And like, you know, so I've been wrestling for like 4 years. I had my daughter was born during that time. I was like 20 when she was born, and I took time off for like that. I had to go get like a real person job and like do, you know, adult stuff, and I didn't like that. And like,
I mean, I can't really hardly say I blame you for that either.
So then, like, I just always thought, like, man, if I don't do it, I'm going to hate it. But it's like, I just feel like that's what I want to do. Like, I don't know. It's weird because, like, I don't know. I just knew that I would regret it if I didn't try. And then I went there and I fucking loved it. It was like the best.
Were you only in just the 3 years?
I was there for like 5 years.
Okay, I thought it was longer than 3.
And I'd probably still be there. But my wife and my daughter, and more importantly, my daughter, like, hated it. And like we were in like a rapid deploy unit, so we were like gone all the time, or we were training to be gone all the time.
Okay.
But I loved it. Like I was like, dude, this is nice. Like, not to be away, I hated that.
No, but like doing it while you're doing it, I think you kind of like get tunnel vision when you love something like that, and you don't think about like, I miss them so much because you're so invested in focused on that.
Yeah, like it was like we'd go out to the field and you'd just like, this is not fun. But then like when you get home, you're like, you did all this misery together with like your friends, and you're like, oh, remember this? Like, oh, that really sucked. And like, but like then you're laughing about it, you're joking about it, like. And it's kind of gave me like that perspective of like, yeah, like it definitely feels like it sucks in the moment, but every time like you go home and you're like telling your friends about it, like you're laughing about it, and you're like, and then I just remember like, I know I'm rambling a lot.
No,
like,
you're fine. I'm so interested.
But like I remember we were out in the field for like 2 weeks.
Okay.
And we got home. So like every time like you we'd go to like a field problem, you'd go out for like maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 30 days, whatever. Depending on what you're preparing to go do.
Okay.
And then like we got like we come in and we're super pumped to like go home. And I can't wait to go shower, can't wait to
understandably.
And they're like our like first sergeant or whatever, whoever made the call was like, well, we got to clean these weapons before we put them back in the armory, because every time you go out, you're going to take your gun.
Okay.
And we're just like, the fuck, dude? Like, we've been out here for 2 weeks. Like, can't we come back on Monday and clean these guns? Like, what could possibly go wrong? But then, like, so I remember, like, we're preparing to clean the guns and stuff like that, like our like rifles. And at some point, like, I cleaned mine, it's all done, it's turned back in, and we're like cleaning like the 50 cal. And we're just like sitting at a table, and it's like 2 or 3 of my friends, and I just like, for whatever reason, like I just like thought to myself, like, once I leave here, I will probably never touch a 50 caliber rifle again ever. And it's like, so why wouldn't I just enjoy this? Like, because once it's over, it's like, it's going to be done.
That's true.
Like, and then from that point, it was just kind of like, I just like enjoyed myself. Like, and then like, yes, something sucked. And, you know, being in the military in general is like, I know it's a lot of like nonsense, like a lot of like busy work, a lot of like, but then when you're not doing busy work, you're doing cool shit. And like, so it's like, for me, it always just felt like it weighed out. Like, and then like, it got to the point where it was like, I was like 27-ish now, 28. And it was time to like re-up and decide if like we're going to go home or go to the next place. And I wanted to stay and occupied.
Yes. Hey, can I grab 2 chairs?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. You guys are doing that.
Oh, you're good.
Thank you.
No problem. You have to edit that out. What was I talking about?
You were talking about deciding to re-up.
Oh, okay. So then, like, by this point, like, I was like, I felt like I was like G.I. Joe. Like, I loved it. We started our own like combatives team that did like we went and did like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments and like
that's
represented our
dope.
unit, and we would like they would have like intra like divisional like kind of like spirit week of like a high school. They would do that in the Army of like, so like your whole base would get together and you do like football tournaments, basketball tournaments, like combatives tournaments and all this stuff. And we do like CrossFit tournaments, all this different stuff. And our platoon sergeant, who's like one of my biggest mentors, and it's still like his voice is like in my head when like I need to like get motivated to do stuff. And he came in as like he was like an asshole. Like, and I think it's like when you're the platoon sergeant, you're new to like this unit, like you come in like hard.
Okay.
And like he came in and he's just like kicking our ass at PT, and we were running more and we were doing so much more stuff. He was more disciplined on like what he wanted and stuff like that. But then like he was really big into jiu-jitsu, and he was like really focused on like, hey, everyone needs to know how to defend themselves, because if we go somewhere,
I mean,
you need to know how to, you know.
That makes sense. So you know Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I can't say that word.
I would say yes. But I wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm like a black belt in it or anything like that. Okay, you just
know some of it.
So like in the Army, you have 4 levels of combatives training that they do. So combatives is like, it's basically like, it's Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that they do. They have so like the Gracies, like the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu family, they have a program that's called a combatives.
Oh.
And so it's basically the Army worked with them and developed like a program for soldiers that teaches you how to do hand-to-hand combat in very close quarters, and how to like disarm people if you're like it's like fighting in like hallways,
like
small rooms.
It's like the Cliff Notes version for secret agents.
It's a lot less technical stuff.
Okay.
But like still like learning how to defend yourself in like life or death situations.
See, I was right. You are a powerful. See, you're scary.
We start doing combatives like all the time. Like on Tuesdays we do combatives at PT. So PT, like you go in for like 2 hours and you you're forced to work out every day. Like that's how the Army is.
Well, thanks.
And so then like on Tuesdays we would always do combatives, and then he was like, okay, well everyone needs to go get level 1 certified. So that means you basically just know like the bare minimum to be able to like protect yourself in a bad situation. And then I did it and I loved it and I was like, this is awesome. So then like I was saying, it was like there's 4 levels. So it's like the intermediate, and then there's like level 2, which is more of like so like intermediate is like if you guys are on the ground, basically like starting from like a guard, side control type stuff, like how to a lot less about submissions, more about like how to get your distance back, like get away, get back to your feet and shoot this fucking guy type stuff. And then like so level 2 is like a more of like stand up, like striking stuff and still more like takedowns and disarming people and and then level 3 is like the highest you would go if you were just like a soldier, and it's like basically everything all together. And then like level 4 is like administrative, like how to basically put on like tournaments and stuff like. So that was like for like the bosses, so like they could do like tournaments in their unit and stuff like that. And then so like I started doing all those and I loved them. Like, I was like, this is awesome. Like this is the coolest
sounds like
shit
wrestling
ever.
Training.
Yeah, and it was like, so like level 1 would be like two weeks. Level 2 would be like 3 weeks, and then level 3 would be like a month. Where like you would just go every day, and this would be like all you do all day is be there. And they would bring in like they would have like instructors or whatever, and then like and that was awesome. Like so then we started like our own. So we had like it was called C3. So we were Charlie Battery, and that would be like so there's like A battery, battery B, battery C. So we were the Charlie, so like Alpha Bravo Charlie. And then so like that's how like our battalion was like broken down. And then like so we are the chosen guns because we were artillery. So like we were chosen guns. So we were the chosen combatives club. So we were C3. So then we'd go and do like outside. So we did like the Spirit Week stuff, and we like smashed these guys, like won all the medals, did all the stuff, like killed them. And we were like, man, we should go do this like all the time. And our platoon sergeant, so we call him, I don't know why this is a thing, but like, so you have like your leader in the artillery world, you call him a chief for some reason. I don't know why. But then your platoon sergeant, you call a smoke. So like, I'll say like Smoke Vance would be like how I would like refer to him. And he was like, yeah, like let's start our own thing. We'll go to like, there's like Naga tournaments. There's like independent jiu-jitsu like tournaments they do like all over the place. So then we started doing those like on our own, and it'd be like 4 of us, and we'd go and just like I wouldn't say that necessarily the unit would send us out, but like we'd go and do these tournaments and stuff, and like we like it was awesome. Like, it was just like we would just go do like, now we're just doing basically like no-gi tournaments and stuff like that.
You know, I was gonna ask how you transitioned out of the Army back into wrestling, but I don't really have to, because it doesn't sound, I mean, it's obviously different, but it sounds like
it was similar, but so that's all going great. My wife, and then Wyatt was born at this time too. He was born in Georgia, and then like we're deciding like, okay, are we leaving, we staying? I probably have like a year-ish left, and then they're like gung-ho about not doing it, and they just want to go back. She wants to be by her family and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like understanding to it. I'm like, like I get that, like you let me do this, and like it was fun, it was great, like, and so it's like, if we can't do it anymore, at least I got to say I did it.
all right.
But then like the salesmen that the Army is, they're like, look, we will, like, you tell me where you want to go and we will send you there. So then they're giving me all these different like options, like, if you do this, then you can go to Italy, and if you do this, then you'll go to Germany, and you can go to Hawaii. And I'm going home, but like, look, we can go, like, look at all these places we can go. And she's just like, no, like, I don't want to do this.
I want to go to Michigan.
And yeah, like, and I didn't want to, but I said, it's like, I get it.
I mean, there's some give and take.
Yeah.
You have to.
And like, we look back on
compromise.
it now, and she's like, we definitely should have. But we're, like, I think that she was miserable there because like she had an infant
I was just say she's
baby
a
there.
mom of 2 kids, and I know you were probably gone a lot.
And she was stuck at home, and she's not a home person. She's not like the home, like the take care of the house mom. She's like, go to work every day.
Okay.
She would like when Wyatt was sick and stuff like that, she went back to work. I stayed home.
Okay.
Because she is not the person, like, she hates sitting around. She hates not that she hates cleaning, but she's not like the homemaker. She's the go out and work type girl or woman. And so like, but during this time, I also meet Jamie Hall, and he is a medic in the Army, and he's also just coincidentally, I meet him at a wrestling show. I had no idea he's in the Army. So like, when I get down there, I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. Like, so I just start reaching out to like random promotions I find like on Facebook. And I'm like, hey, like, I am a wrestler and I am really good. Like, can I just like, I wouldn't say that to them. I would just be like, hey, I'm a wrestler from Michigan. I'm stationed here because of the Army, blah, blah, blah. I say, is it okay if I come to your show and like hang out? Like, not setting any expectations, like you're going to book me or anything like that. But it's like, can I just come and hang out? And I end up going to this like random show, and it's like in a karate like studio, and it's bad. And but Jamie's there, and like and there's another guy, and his name's Lamar Phillips.
Okay.
And so we're not at the karate studio yet. The first show I go to, where I meet these guys, well, I don't meet Jamie yet. Jamie is the karate studio. That's when I meet him. So I meet Lamar Phillips, and we go, and this show is at a strip club. And
all right then.
So I walk in, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. Like, and I walk in there, and I see there's like a bunch of people in the ring, and they're trying to teach somebody how to do like an arm drag, and they are just awful. And the person trying to do the arm drag is like expectedly bad because she doesn't know how to wrestle at all.
Okay.
But the people trying to teach her are
just
terrible.
As bad?
And Lamar is in the ring, and he's like trying to like explain to them like how to do it, and it's like, it's kind of like the Carney talk of wrestling. It's like, if I hear somebody talk about wrestling, I can kind of know, like, I have I will know if they're good or not. Okay. And maybe that's just like being here for so long or whatever. But it's like, I can hear someone talk about wrestling, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about, or this girl knows what he's talking about. Like, or they have no clue. Yeah. And I hear Lamar trying to tell them like, hey, like, you want to come into like this and try to take it like this and whatever. And I was like, hey man, do you want me to show them how to take it? And he was like, who the fuck is this guy? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I come in, and this has been a big debate in our DTA chat over the last couple of months. But I take arm drags so fucking good, so good. And this is to Jack Price when he watches it. Yeah. Whatever he says. Take arm drags better than anybody to ever do it. What's an arm drag? It's like, usually you see them in the beginning of a match, You'll see like they'll come at you like this. And the person
Oh,
will do either, if they do it right, they'll take like a front bump over top of them or like
Okay.
a front roll. But you'll see a lot of people do like a barrel roll and they'll look bad. And the way to do it is to do a front flip. And but also if you're trained kind of like an older style, or if you're trained by a guy who's like from like the 80s and stuff like that, or just doesn't know what they're talking about, you'll get trained in a way to, and I love Levi, but he, our first trainer who taught us so much, but he takes arm drags like a barrel roll. And it's just like, at a time that was like, okay. But like when I was coming up and like when I was showing people how to wrestle and stuff like that, that was not okay.
I think you take them very well, better than him.
Oh,
I'm
well,
not
he's
just
not
saying-
debating that.
Oh, okay.
So like, but so now it's like a whole thing. Like every time I see an arm drag anywhere in the world, like on Facebook or anything, like I will clip it and I will send it and I'll be like, look how good Billy Gunn just took this arm drag. And then like, so because Jack was like, he was, and I don't think he ever knew it was right or wrong or anything like that, but he would take like a barrel rolly arm drag. And Jack will make it work because he's so good. He can do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah,
And he can get up properly and make it be fine. But like,
It's not wrong.
but at some point, and like I said, I don't know if it's like right or wrong. Like, I think it's just like, there's,
Preference, maybe?
I would say that it just kind of depends on where you come up at and when you come up and then who trained you. Because if you don't know that there's a different way, you're just doing what you're told. But like, so he was brought up in a way, you just take an arm drag, you kind of do like a little barrel roll thing. And he's athletic enough and talented enough to make it look decent and get up fine and feed properly and stuff like that. And, but the way I brought like our guys up, it's like, you do a front bump, like you do a front flip. This is neither here nor there. But I take this arm drag so fucking good. And then right away, like Lamar is like, oh my God, you're a real wrestler. And I was like, yeah. Like, and then we become the friends. And he was like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I'm in the Army. I'm from Michigan, this and that. And he's like, dude, like, it's so good to meet you. Like, and so we become like best friends. And we hang out for like the rest of the night at this strip club. And I don't wrestle that night. I'm just hanging out. And then he goes and talks to the promoter. And like, all he's seen is me take this arm drag. But he, like, just like I was saying, is like, once you know, you like.
I feel like you can tell after you've done it for a while. I would hope at least.
So then like he goes and talks to the promoter guy and he's like, hey, like this guy, he's really good. Like you should get on. So then the next show I was like booked on the show. So then the next show is where I meet Jamie.
Okay.
So I meet Jamie as just like, I meet him as like a wrestler. And I'm like, hey, you know, nice to meet you. But I noticed he has like a Army like medical bag as his like wrestling bag.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, are you in the Army? And he was like, yeah, I'm a medic at Fort Stewart, which is where I was. And I was like, oh, no shit. Like,
that's
I'm in the
small
artillery.
world.
And I'm also at Fort Stewart. And then he was like, dude, like, we should start hanging out. We should start going to shows together. Like, so then we become friends. Our wives become friends. Like, we start hanging out and like everything. And so then from there, we were like, not necessarily, we weren't tagging yet, but we were doing shows together. We were having fun. We were hanging out in and out of the show. We were traveling to shows together. And then we was like, man, we should be a tag team. And then we start tagging. We start having like a lot of success. And we are Death Threat. That was our name. And we were doing like a handful of shows, not a lot. It's hard to like kind of commit to shows when you're in the Army.
I mean, that's understandable.
And then also like you have like a restriction of like you can only travel like 200 miles away from post without like a pass.
Oh, okay.
So like you can't go to like all these places that you want to go without like permission, or you can just try to do it and hope nothing goes wrong and you get in trouble, which we've done a couple times. And like, but like, so we were doing these shows, everything was going good. And then Jamie gets shipped off to Poland.
Oh.
And he's gone for like 9 months. And then, so now I'm just kind of wrestling on my own, like every now and again. And so now fast forward, it's time to go home. So now it's like, I want to do Death Threat, but I don't want to take it away from Jamie because he basically created, like we created together, but like we came up with the name. We found the music. We made all this stuff together. And like, so I was like, man, I want to take this like away from him. Like,
okay.
And so like, we came up with the idea of like, we're just going to do like instead of it being like a team or like a faction, we were just going like, it was just going to be like a group of guys. And it's not necessarily that we are a team, like we're tag teams, not like we're like a faction, like how we are like a faction here. We're just going to be like Death Threat as a brand. And we are going to like have guys that either we believe in that like we could mentor, or we could do, or like guys who are good that like kind of fit like the personality of what we thought we were at that time.
Okay.
So then like 2018, I come home from the Army and like I come home as like the death threat Aaron Orion,
Okay.
and I'm like a different person, and like in like kind of like I was saying earlier, like I didn't until I was in the Army, I didn't feel like I was like complete.
Okay.
So now, and so like I found it hard, like as like prior to being in the military, I found I could be a really good heel for the most part, but I found it really hard to be like a baby face. And like I never felt like I was genuine as a baby face. And
that intrigues me, but
it's weird. But it's like so it's like as a heel, I would kind of be me, and I could come out and I could look mean and do whatever and be good at doing.
You do have RBF.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. And then like so like, but prior to the Army, if I was a good guy, I'd be like, yeah, come on, guys, like. But it's like I just didn't like. I don't feel like I knew myself.
I mean, you were young.
Yeah, it was like, but coming back from the Army, it's like I felt so good about like I don't know. It's like I just felt like I was like complete as who I wanted to be.
It feels like it was an accomplishment. I would.
Yeah. So then like so I come home and it's just like immediately like I come home with like a whole not necessarily new identity, but I come back with like a lot more experience. It's like, you know, you're here from being 15 to 23 of like kind of wrestling and then really wrestling and then taking a break and then coming back and then like and not really having any like direction of like I had like Phil, I had like Levi in the very beginning, I had XJ for like a period of time like during training and stuff, and I had Phil Monahan, Nitro, and then but like for the most part like especially for the style of the wrestling I wanted to do, like there was nobody like to show me like how to be the best version of myself.
Okay.
And I also didn't feel like there was people like reaching out to me being like, hey man, I watched your match, like I like this, but maybe you should do this, or think about this, or like you should do this instead of this. Like I felt like in this time frame that kind of stuff didn't happen in wrestling. And like so like I came home with the idea. It's like, so I'm here, I build this like Aaron Orion thing, and I go to the Army and I have to do it all over again. So then like for 4 years, I am rebuilding a brand of who I am as a wrestler. And then I come home again to do it all over again. So then it's like, I felt like I gained so much experience through like having to like rebuild this like business 3 times. That's
what it was reminding me of. It's like when you start a business and it kind of worked, and like you got to tweak it, and maybe you start another business because that first one didn't work quite right.
So then like I felt like when I came home, I still wasn't like, I felt really good, and I felt confident to just be myself.
Okay.
And like, and everyone always says it. It's like I don't know, like, you know, the best gimmick you can have is just being yourself, like turned up. Like
yeah, you just turn it up a notch.
So then like I come home and I do a couple different things with like one of my brothers is wrestling. It was Christopher Saint, and he's another one of the kids that my mom like let move in with us, and we start tagging, and we're Death Threat, and we're doing this, and everything's kind of going good, and then like I was like a lack of motivation, a lack of whatever, but it's just like I couldn't get him to be on the same like level that I wanted, like, and so then I start like, and also I think this is like I start getting like singles pushes places because like they could tell that I'm good, I'm putting in the work, all this different stuff. And then, so then me and Christopher Saint, like we pretty much stopped tagging. And now I'm kind of like going out on my own. I'm going to bigger promotions. Like, you know, like there's like a level, B level, C level, like
there's a lot of different tiers.
And like, so like when Saint and I were tagging, we're like doing like some like C level, D level shows and stuff like that. But then kind of like right away I start traveling with like my like Jake something and Use, and like and we start going to all these like bigger shows, and I'm just going like no one knows who I am. I'm just showing up and be like, hey, like I'm here if you need anything, if you want me to set the ring, if you want me to,
I mean, that's security. What you have to do though, right?
So then like there's a place in Toronto called Super Kicked.
Okay.
And this is like the mecca of cool wrestling. And it's like I remember watching, like they would build these like cool hype videos. I'd watch them online like when I was in the Army and stuff. And I was like, man, when I go home, this is where I want to get to. And I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm just going to go, and I'm going to do everything I can to get on these shows because they look insane. And I go for like 6 months straight and like never get a match. And I just like, dude, I'm going to be here.
Well, you're dedicated.
Well, it's like I'm telling you, like, and it was also fun. Like you're going with your friends, you're hanging out, it's a good time. And I don't know, but it's also like, I don't know, the idea of what wrestling is like, it's not lost on on me. Like, I'm gonna go do the things I know I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm gonna show up, and like, I'm going to reach out, and I'm gonna ask for a spot, and like, if you don't need me, I'm still gonna show up and be like, hey man, I'll set up the ring, I'll be security, I'll do whatever you want. And like, they see that, promoters will see that, and they'll be like, oh dude, this is who really wants it. Oh, someone dropped out of the card, here we go. So then like, I eventually, that like 6 months of going, that happens. They put me in with a match with one of their like students, and I don't like, the match is fine. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's good or bad, but one of the promoters, his name was Ashley, and he was a guy, he was like from Ring of Honor. He did some stuff with Ring of Honor. He traveled a lot, and he kind of comes to me at first, and he was just like, not necessarily attacking me, but kind of like, hey man, like this, and you should have done it like this, and think about this, and maybe think about that. And I was like, oh yeah, dude, like that makes so much sense. And it was just like, it was like constructive criticism.
I feel like that's important though. That's how you learn.
And like, I was like, man, I don't feel like anyone's like done that to me ever. Like, and I was just like, dude, I will take everything he said, and some of it maybe is nonsense, maybe some of it isn't, but I'm gonna at least try it out. So then like the next show I get like on like the pre-show or whatever, and I go out there, and then we have like a good match, and then like next thing you know, like I'm on the actual show, and then that starts building, and it's like and then I like, that's where I feel like I really like develop like my style that I like am now, is like, you have to just find this place and like watch matches and stuff. It's like, it's kind of like in a nightclub.
Okay.
And there's no chairs, everyone's standing, the crowd. There's balconies of everyone standing. There's music playing the entire time. And it is like the most insane vibe of a wrestling show that you will ever see. It's amazing. It's the best. And like the crowd, they're not like wrestling fans. It's like right downtown Toronto. And the show doesn't start until like 10 o'clock at night.
Holy crap.
And the show's like 2 hours, and then like the show ends, and then all these people like file out of this place and just go to the bars across the street and like, go to the clubs.
All right.
And like, so like, so you learn a very like fast-paced style of like, I don't know, like a very fast-paced, just hard-hitting like style, like of like a very hybrid style of wrestling that isn't like what you'd see at any other show. And like, but they have like the absolute best guys in Canada are there. Like the best wrestlers in Canada are all coming to this show. And then so there's like kind of like accidentally you end up being in matches with these guys. You end up sitting in the back with them talking about matches. And then like, and next thing you know, it's like, I am able to like imitate those matches on my own without those guys, but I'm not able to like do them right. Like I'm like emulating them, but not doing them. Like they would always like, to me, they would just be off in some way.
You're like the Wish version.
Yeah. Like until I had a match with Jake something, and it was at Super Kicked, and we have this match, and then it was like, we do the match, it's like 10 minutes long. Every match is super fast. Like we have this match, and it's like, I leave there being like, oh, like I get it now. Like I get, like, it's just like a light bulb like goes off in my head. I was like, this is how it's supposed to be. Like all these like false finishes and transitions and all this different stuff. Like, it's just like, it like just clear, like becomes so clear in my head. And then it's like off to the races. And I was like, so then everywhere I'm going, I'm able to do these matches with any person. It doesn't matter. Like, and like everything is just like, everything like picks up, and like everything is just like, every show we go to, every match we have, we're trying to have like the best match we possibly can. And we're going all over the United States and all over Canada. And we're just doing we're having all these matches, and it's like, everything is like, every match is good. And like, it's like, from that moment, I felt like, man, like, not that I couldn't have a bad match. There would definitely be matches in there, like, man, but like, I felt like then at that point, I was like, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is the style I want. And like, that's like when I felt like I was like complete as like who I am.
It sounds like you've solved the Rubik's Cube of who you were.
Or at least for like that style of like, because I even feel like I had this like more recently of like, so at Chainsaw, so I love Gary J. He's like my favorite wrestler, or one of my favorite wrestlers. And I met Gary J in Kansas City in like 2019.
Okay.
And he had this match, and he's like a small, I mean, you guys have seen him. He's like this small guy, like he's lanky. He doesn't really have like a lot of like definition or anything like that.
No.
And he goes out and has this like insane match. And I go to him as a guy, I've been wrestling for like 7 years at this point, like through the years. And I go to him and I was like, how do you, like, can you explain to me like the psychology that you use? Like, what's your mindset when you're planning this part of the match? And he explains it to me, and I was like, oh, dude, thank you, man. Like, that's awesome. I'm going to use that. And then I kind of like go on a whole nother journey of like developing that style. And then it's like, I'm not hitting it right. I'm not doing it the way I feel like it should be done, but I feel like I'm close. But it doesn't feel like it's like hitting the same beats that he was able to hit when he's doing it.
Okay.
And then I wrestle him in like 2020 at Chainsaw. And then I leave there being like, that's how you do it. Like, holy shit. And then like we have, they bring him up for, this was just a couple months ago, and we have another match. And that match, like all over again, it was just like, oh, this is a whole different style, or not even style, but it's like just a whole different story that he told in our match, our more recent match. And it was just like, it was like another light. I was like, man, dude, I want to do more of that. And so then like after we have this match, I love the match, and like we sit and talk, and I'm like, dude, like I want to just know more. Like, how do you, like, tell me, like, how would you do this? How would you? And then like, so then I go on like a string of like the last couple of matches of like of the last couple of months of matches of just like trying to use that same thing that I learned from him and like make it into like my own thing, but also like with the same, I don't know, like the
energy.
Yeah, and so then it's like, oh, like I'm doing it all over again. It's like every match you're in or every place you go, it's kind of like you're going to be in a different style. Like you need a different, like if you're in the South, you're going to have a different style. If you're here, you're going to have a different style.
mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But even like singers and stuff, they altered like,
Said the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, and so it's
It's
like,
the same, but it's
Slightly different variations.
yeah, so it's like when I talk about like the 7 steps, that's like an Al Snow thing. And so there's 7 steps to make a wrestling match. And if you do those 7 steps right, the crowd should be invested into your match, and like, it should be good. But then when you get good at it, you don't have to do them in order. You can move them around. You can do different stuff. And you can position those steps, like those pillars that you use to build the structure of your match, and you can move them around. You don't have to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can go like 3, 1, 2, 3, like 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Like you can just start like once you like have it, and then you have like the understanding of like what Gary J has.
You can improvise a little.
You could really like move that around and like make so much more. And I felt like over the last couple of months, I felt like I've had like a whole new, like, oh, this is brand new to me. I've never really had matches like this match that we had a couple months ago. Or not necessarily like.
I'm very excited for your match tonight.
I'm worried about this match.
Why?
I just hope that the ring or the cage goes up.
Who are you? Look, I saw you on the card and I was like,
it's a
I don't even
War
remember
Games
who
match. And so it's like XICW versus Chaos
kind
and
of
a
like
cage.
when we saw Death Threat Army versus Armageddon at Southgate.
Yeah, so it'll be essentially that.
So it's going to be more than just you in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's gonna be like a War Game style of like 2 people start, someone comes out every 2 minutes.
Oh yes, I vaguely remember that.
But
why are you nervous though?
The only thing I'll be worried about is if the cage takes too long to set up. That's what scares me, because then you run the risk of like they were kind of talking about it earlier, maybe just doing that match first so we could set up the cage now and go through all the hiccups of setting up the cage.
I mean, that makes sense because there might be.
Yeah, and that's what everyone was kind of worried about. It's like, dude, there's not a lot of people who know how to set up their cage. The people who do know how to set up the cage are going to be in the match, so they're not going to be able to go out and set it up.
Yeah, true.
So that was like, the match itself is like, okay, we're going to go out there and do a match, and it's going to be fine. We're going to, do some cool stuff. But it's like they're going to go to intermission, and then, for me, I would like a 15-minute intermission, go right back into it. But it's like, if you go too long, then you're going to start like hurting the crowd, and they're going to start dying out. And if we take so long to get to this match, then it's like kind of like the match will fall like on deaf ears of like, I'm just ready to go home at this point.
I mean, I get that totally. Like, there's been intermissions I've been out and people start to complain, but I always try to like cheerfully. I feel like I'm fairly good at it. I get that because it's a production. You have to get people invested in people aren't going to be invested if they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
And that's kind of like where my brain is for like this kind of stuff. Like, is like, I love cage matches. We've done a couple of really cool cage matches in the same cage, and like, and the cage has always been fine. Like, it's never like fell off or anything like that. But it's just like getting it set up can be a really big any cage really. Getting any cage set up, it can be a really, really big hassle. And then like, the longer it takes, the longer people sit around, and it's like then you're going out to a crowd. It's just like this happened at you were there, FU, where we didn't wrestle until midnight.
Oh yes,
and I was going to kill myself.
Yes,
right there in front of everybody.
Yeah,
because I was like, man, I you know, Jeremiah, I love you. And it's like, but I cannot do this, dude. Like, and like, I don't know, maybe it's in my older age, but it's just like. But we go out for this match that we're excited about. We're working on. We're trying, and we also it's like we're wrestlers. We want to perform. We want to like make people happy or sad or whatever we are doing in that moment. It's like, but then we get to the point where it's like it's midnight. We've been sitting around for 6 hours at this point.
I mean, you guys get there way before the audience does. So.
Yeah, and I try to be like better on this. So it's like I feel like there's certain days where I love being there early and like hanging out, maybe get in the ring, help some people out. Like there's days where I like that. And then, and I think as a young wrestler, you definitely should be here super early. Not necessarily like you have to come set up the ring. I would rather you set up the ring, but like I would never be like a young guy should have, like they should be setting up the ring. I don't know, that's beyond me. But like, I definitely feel like as like a young guy, it's important to be here, get in the ring, roll around. Like as like me as a young wrestler, like we would go to shows, the second day would let us in the building, we'd set up the ring as fast as we could just so we could go and roll around for a couple hours.
I mean, that makes sense. The more practice you get, the better you're going to be.
And like I feel like this generation of kids have really gotten away from that a lot. And like but like when we were kids, like that was kind of like how you kind of like showcased what you do too. Like,
well, why do you think they don't do that anymore?
I have no clue.
Oh.
There's a lot of reasons. I mean, nowadays a lot of the kids are actually working, so
I mean, yeah, and then you don't really need to show what you're going to do because you have online stuff too.
Yeah, it's.
It just seems counterproductive to not do that. Like you're not even working really. Yeah. You're just up there like practicing and showing what you can do. That seems like good.
Well, it's like when I remember one of the times at Super Kicks, I wasn't on the show. And Jake is amazing, one of the best wrestlers going right now. And I just like, and he didn't need me for anything, but I'm standing there, I'm in the ring, I'm just like, hey, hanging out. And then like out of the corner of his eye, he sees like the promoter come out, and he's like, hey, Aaron, will you help me with this spot? And he's being like loud, and he's just like, and he starts asking me these questions that like I know he knows. And then he's like, hey, will you go over the spot with me? And he's like, what do you think about that? And then we start going through it, and then like we do this thing, we like we go over a spot, like I said, that he definitely knows what the fuck he's doing, and like the promoter like walks away and he's like, I wanted them to see how good you are.
Aww.
And I was just like, that's awesome. Like but those things matter, and especially like when you're a promoter, some promoters are crazy and they're like eccentric and stuff like that.
I've noticed.
Yeah, so like I think that it is like important at times, and like I said, like maybe it's not as important, like, and maybe it's just like me being a guy who came up in that time of like we would just go, like, we would be on the show. We'd come and run full-fledged matches for no reason. Just like messing around in the ring before. We'd be doing like fucking Baldo bombs and superplexes and shit for no reason. And like, but there would also be times where we'd come in and we'd just like chain for like 20 minutes. And then the promoter would be like, hey, you guys are on the show tonight. We're like, oh shit.
All right.
Like,
thank you.
So like, it was like, I don't know. It's like, and I feel like, I don't know. It's like, there's a certain entitlement that I think that younger guys and girls have, which is, I don't know why or whatever, but it's like,
why the fuck do I set up a ring for free?
Yeah, and it's like, but I also like, I agree to the idea. It's like no one should ever be working for free.
No, they shouldn't.
Like that should not be
unless they choose to.
Well,
like
when
I first started doing photos, I did a couple for free because you didn't know what I could do, and it was hard to show you other than like nature photography and like that kind of stuff. So that's what I did, but I chose to do that.
Right.
When people would come to me and like, will you do my photos for free? Since you just no, I won't.
Yeah, and it's the same idea. It's like, I 100%, like I've done plenty of shows for free because I was new and didn't know any better, or also like just like, hey, that's a chance to showcase what I got.
I mean,
like,
yeah.
stuff like that. But then you definitely have these guys like promoters or bookers or whatever who will take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where kind of like the bad name comes out of it, is like now you're taking advantage of these guys who are so eager to be able to be in a wrestling
We're
ring.
exploiting them.
Yeah, definitely exploitation.
So I'm always like, dude, like never work for free. But there's plenty of times
it's
where
a fine balance, though. I feel
because there's been times where I've been like I don't know, for like a random, you know, like a charity event or something like that. Like, dude, just don't pay me at all. It's cool. Like I'm here, and like I'm here because I like care about what's going on,
Right.
or even if I don't care about what's going on, I care that you care enough to put the show on for whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
I've
So, like,
literally worked for less than a hot dog and a handshake. It was like, I can get here, show what I could do, and
yeah, and then part of that is important. Like
But again,
Exactly.
that's choice.
But-
You shouldn't
Yeah.
like.
you do it for a while, and
It's-
it's like, fuck this. What the hell am I doing?
yeah, so like, but there's plenty of places, especially like in our area, that will definitely take advantage of that. And
Yeah.
especially when it comes to like ring crew stuff, and like you're not gonna be on the show unless you help me set up the ring. And if that's your promotion, that's your rules, then cool, dude, that's whatever.
I mean,
Like,
that's fine. Yeah.
Rather than
but
support something like that.
yeah, so and I only hear this kind of like secondhand because like I'll set up the ring if I choose to set up the ring, but I'll be goddamned if I'm gonna go set up the ring. And like, but there's times where I go and do it, like just
I've seen you before.
yeah, like so it's like I'm not like against it, and if they need help, I will definitely help. Like, but like if it's required of me, like to be on your show, then it's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
won't be there. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like now we're just gossiping about bad
Is the
wrestling
show
stuff.
starting?
Pretty soon.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's the ADHD. I don't take my Adderall on the weekends.
Oh, I'm good to talk.
Okay.
My show matches until the very end.
Oh, all
He
right.
knows when he's going on.
Yeah. So what else do you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. You're so interesting. I've learned so much. I had no idea. So why Death Threat Army with these guys then? If you want to tape, you can take my phone out of my purse and go.
So my idea, which I guess we kind of touched on a little bit, is like when I came home, I said at this point I feel like I've been like wrestling for real for like 7 years.
Okay.
And in those 7 years, I had a handful of people, like a very small handful of people who actually like took time to mentor me and like teach me how to be better.
Okay.
And I felt like during that time, it wasn't like,
Give it here. Keep talking.
it was like, I don't want these guys to get better or they're going to like take my spot type vibe. And so and that's how like I felt like I came up. It was like, no one was out here giving the information. No one was out here like, hey man, I watched your match. Like, what do you think about this? Like, man, maybe you should do that. Like that kind of stuff never happened. Like, and maybe it's like you're going there with like your coach or your trainer, maybe
Okay.
they would, but like just as like a random guy who watched your match, like they're gonna like that. It's like I remember we did a show at XI. This was like before we were ever wrestling there or anything like that. We were very, very young. We might even still been in training.
Okay.
And we were there as like security, but two of our guys got on the show to get like squash match and a tag team match. And the match is whatever, you know, they do whatever. And we get in the back and all these guys are like shitting on them. Like, you fucking guys, you don't belong here. Like, you don't belong in this locker room. Like, you need to go to the gym. You need to do all that. Like, and it's like,
That's not nice.
it's crazy. Like,
wow.
and I just remember being like, dude, I'm never coming back here. Like, ever. And like, and we went like years. And like, I like legitimately for like the entire time that I was wrestling before I went to the Army, and then like at least like 2 years before, like when I came home, I just didn't wrestle in Detroit at all because I had like this like really bad experience here that like I was like, if this is the way that like this Detroit crew is, like I don't want to be here.
I mean, fair
And,
enough. I
like-
wouldn't want to subject myself to that.
And yeah, it's also like I'm not the guy who's going to come here and play these games. Like,
yeah, no, you don't seem like that
like-
type.
but like, and I tell this to every young guy that I talk to about anything ever. It's like, you are getting paid, hopefully, to come do a job.
Yeah.
And that job, it doesn't matter if you're winning or losing. It doesn't matter if you like or don't like the person you're wrestling. It doesn't matter if you don't think it's going to be a good match. You are put on the show to do this thing. So go do the thing and shut the fuck up about it. And that's how I have like lived my entire wrestling life. Like for as big as I've gotten, or as low as I've been, I have never done that. Like I've never went to the fucking bar with a promoter and like tried to kiss his ass and be like, hey, you know, like I really think that like I could have a good match with it. What do you think about this? Like, hey man, like maybe you should bring this guy in for me. I've never ever done that. And it's not that it's right or wrong. Like, but I
mean, you treat it like a job,
yeah. And I would never do that. And like, and that kind of stuff happens all the time. And like I said, that, and I don't think it's wrong, but it's just like, I'm here, and they're not never. So there's a time where I've let that get to me. Not that I was like, I just felt like I was really close to the promoter.
Okay.
And he was going through a lot of stuff, and we were doing a lot of cool stuff, and then he was going through a lot of stuff personally that kind of like took him out of the mix, and like we were invested in this like story we were telling. We were invested in the situation that we were going, and then next thing you knew, we were like coming in and doing these like random matches and doing stupid stuff, and I remember like the idea of going to the show like on Wednesday. I was like, I don't want to fucking be here.
Oh.
And like I like so like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into Saturday, I'm like dreading the idea that I have the show to go
That's
to.
never a good. It's not good when it's like that.
And I felt like that was happening like so much, and like I was just like, man, like I love this so much. Like I am still like in my head, I'm still like the 15-year-old kid who has like their mom signing the fucking waiver. So like I love it. Like I love wrestling, and for that like brief handful of months, like I let that almost get taken away from me. And like I felt it. Like I felt like when I was at the shows, I wasn't having fun. I felt like we were just
doing the motions.
It was like maybe like a part of it is like being burnt out of it, and maybe part of it is like I had so much going on. Like this was post Wyatt stuff, and
and that was a lot.
Yeah, it's like so like part of it is probably on me, like of just like I just needed a break from it, even though like because like I took a break from wrestling for Wyatt, but I didn't take a break from all of the bullshit that was happening.
No.
So then like I came back to wrestling and all that stuff's still happening. Like he's going to 5 appointments a week, and I'm taking him to every one of them. I have to sit there and watch him be sedated to get an MRI done every month.
I can't even imagine how hard that was.
And it's like in the moment you're just like it's not hard because you have to do it.
Well, no, it's you don't think about it's hard. This is so stressful. You think about this is what needs to be done, and I'm going to do it.
Right. And there's like, but then like when you're kind of like out of the storm of it, you're like, man, dude, that's so fucked up that like we did this, and like we had to do it, and then like, so a part of it could definitely be that, like that could definitely like so like, but like I said, I let myself like get kind of like not consumed with like what we were doing of like, but it's like I kind of like lost track of like this is supposed to be fun, like, and we're not having fun. So it's like, but why aren't we having fun? It's like because you're not getting like your way. But like, who fucking cares about what the show is? Who cares about what your match is? Who cares? It's like you get to come do this thing that's so cool that you've loved since you were a little kid. Fucking watching, the NWO Wolfpack, fucking Sting come down and rip off the NWO white and black shirt, and he has a red and black shirt on. Like that's who I am. I'm still that person. Like so, it's like I will be damned if I'm gonna let like these motherfuckers or any of them like take that away.
I mean, yeah, you can't. You have to live your life and not let that.
So then, like, I felt like I took well during that time. So when I was in the Army, I did aerosol, where like you like rappel out of helicopters, and I like super fucked up my foot. I did like 2 different surgeries on it.
Ooh.
And like the first time it didn't like take, and they had to like put a screw in it and like wrap it with like a wire and shit. And like around the same time, it was like really like. It wasn't like super excruciating pain, but it was like a nagging pain, like just a walk. And I felt like I remember looking at a pair of my shoes, and like I was wearing out like this side of the shoe because I was walking, because it was like my big toe, and I was like walking on the side of my like foot just to like not be hurt.
Okay.
And so then I had some like bone spurs like shaved down in there that like developed over time. So like during that time, it wasn't like a long time. It was like a couple months of like, hey, I'm just not going to do this for the next couple months or whatever. And then I came back and like feeling like, hey, I'm not going to go do every show. I'm going to do the shows that I want to do. I'm going to do like not necessarily bog down my schedule of like where I still want to be able to go home and relax. I want to go home and like hang out with my kids, and some days I just want to go home and sit on the couch and not do anything.
I mean,
And
that's fair enough.
so like when I came back from that, I was like, I'm gonna do less stuff, but I'm also gonna do stuff that like is important to me, or stuff that I'm gonna go to the shows that I believe in. I'm gonna and that's kind of where like, real time now. But so death threat. So when I'm coming home, I'm like, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident at who I am as a wrestler, and I have this like idea of like I want to take everything that I've learned over the last 7 years. Like the starting a business, closing it, reopening it, closing it, like that same idea of like reestablishing myself 3 different times as a wrestler, and all the things that I learned in between. And I want to be able to give that back to these guys who I believe in, and try to like shorten that 7-year learning curve of down to like 3 or 2 or 5 or whatever it is that like, because everyone's going to grow differently.
So they can benefit from your extended learning.
Right. So then so that was like my, Death Threat wasn't going to be a faction. It was going to be like a group of guys that like I believed in, or Jamie and I believed in. So like, there's a guy from South Carolina, his name's Kenji. Jamie and him became friends, and he was a guy who Jamie really believed in as a wrestler and as a person who fit the vibe of what we thought we wanted. And so Kenji started traveling with Jamie down in the Georgia, South Carolina area.
Okay.
And then I had Christopher Sane, and Christopher Sane kind of stopped wrestling and stuff like that. And then we had we call them like allies, just to stay with the military gimmick. But it's so it would be like Jack. I had met Jack. I remember me and Chris Corvus had went to one of the MWO shows and seen Jack go out as a referee and take a clothesline in a match. And I remember looking at Corvus and this fucking guy can wrestle, and he's a ref. And but I was like, there's something about him, just seeing him in the ring. I was like, there's something special about him. And then I went and talked to the promoter, and I was like, hey, I will come back in here and wrestle if you let me wrestle Jack 5 times. Just put us, I don't care if it's a best of 5 series or whatever.
Okay.
But just let me wrestle, and we can do it opening match. We can do it on a pre-show. It's but just let me wrestle him 5 times because he's special. And I think that if he could see how wrestling is actually done, then he will be able to he will, from these matches, he will learn it, and he will get he will be able to absorb it.
Okay.
Where like I said, I had this a backyard wrestling promotion. So I was I just thought if I could give that to him, he will be able to see the light and then be able to go do his stuff.
Okay.
So then we have these matches, and every match gets a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better until we have a really good match at our 5th match, and and then he goes on to win all of their titles and stuff like that. But he doesn't leave immediately, and that's prior to me going to the Army.
Okay.
And then when I come back from the Army, me and Jack are close at this point. We're talking often, and he's now talking he's ready to leave the MWO. He wants to go out and do real stuff. He wants to go out onto the indies and do.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, I got your back. I'm already out here wrestling. I will, if you ever need help, if you ever need someone to vouch for you, if you want to come to shows with me and Jake and Yus and all these guys, I'm down. And he came down to XI and did a couple things, and he was still going to the MWO. He was kind of splitting his time, trying to get some feelers out there and stuff like that. And then he kind of makes the jump of hey, I'm done with the MWO. I'm going to commit full time. I feel I'm getting enough bookings. I'm getting enough people interested. And that was in my head was Jack is a ally of the, he's not a Death Threat Army guy, but he's an ally to the system that in my head I wanted.
Okay.
Of mentoring guys, teaching guys, just telling them different shit, or helping guys out that get on shows or get exposure. And so all that was I don't know, it was just kind of a weird, not necessarily, it was just the idea that I had for these younger guys. And I was saying with Alex Weir and Tommy Vendetta. Well, by the time Vendetta had came around, Death Threat was already up and going. But so then we start, CIW is running in Flint. So CIW is Phil Monahan Nitro's promotion.
Okay.
And he's running at a flea market in Flint, which is my hometown, but it's also Jack's hometown. So then he basically was hey, you guys can do whatever you want. Let's just have really good shows, and we're going to market around you guys because you guys are the hometown guys. And he let us basically book the shows.
They love hometown guys though.
And like, but it was just like for the draw purposes, like we're going to promote harder. It's our hometown and stuff like that. And we like, he kind of gives us the reins to do whatever we want, and we start like selling out this flea market. And it's like me versus Jack, me versus Ren Jones, Jack versus Ren Jones, me versus Xavier Walker. All of us are from Flint.
Okay.
And we're like packing this place, like standing room only.
I mean, you are all very, very good.
And this is like pre being very good. Like we're just good. Like
you're just good. Okay.
And like and we're having like we like had a good story we were telling. We did all this cool stuff. We had these really good matches and stuff like that. And then everyone like X and Ren were they were a tag team at the time called Super Future. They were traveling around. They were doing relatively well for guys who have been just around for like 2 or 3 years. Jake and Youth are like on the brink of getting signed to Impact and all this stuff. And like so like we're going around, we're doing all these different shows but at XI or at CIW we start forming start forming what is going to be like a faction that is the Death Threat Army, and it's like to go against X and Ren and all this stuff. So I start putting together these guys, and it's like Jack, X, and Ren are like the babies, and like I'm making this like faction of all the bad guys. So like one night we needed like just two kind of, I don't know, like two guys, and it didn't necessarily matter who they were at the moment, but we said we were going to have the guys come out like hat, mask on or whatever, and we're going to beat up Jack. And it was really cool, and I wish that we'd still do it now, but like during this time we would have like, and even though I was like a bad guy, the fans would like line up on the entranceway. There's a sweet picture I'll send you, but like
please do.
The fans would line up at the entrance ramp or way, and like as I walked out they would salute as I walked through. And it was fucking baller.
That's dope.
It was awesome. And like Alex Weir and Adam were one of those two guys, or one of those guys in that crowd of like just like the extras. And Jack had talked Adam into coming from the MWO to like coming to these shows and trying to show his face and stuff like that. And Alex was coming like fresh out of training basically, and he was just like a little kid basically. Like he was like what KJ is.
Yeah.
And like but we needed two guys to like come in. They're going to hold Jack. We're going to beat him up. We're going to talk a bunch of crap, whatever. And we get in the ring. Adam, he looks cool. He's wearing a black jacket and whatever. And Alex is doing the same stuff. And then we have it set up where like Alex is going to give him some sort of kick or whatever. And Alex is like a black belt.
Yeah.
He's like 18, 19 years old, gives Jack like this super sweet spin kick. And I was like, oh, and just right in that moment, I was like, that motherfucker's moving around this ring like he knows what he's doing. So then that was just like, dude, like I feel like Alex could do something. And then that kind of brought Alex in. And then Adam kind of gets cold feet, and he like goes back to the MWO. He's like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, so he goes back to the MWO. He doesn't want to do that to Indies yet. And so then like we kind of start this like thing. So it's like me and Alex, and then we have like Nick Zero, and we're doing Death Threat, and everything's like going really good. And like we're like, I'm doing well, and like the name Death Threat is doing well. So it's almost like if you can use that name, it's almost like a cheat code, and the crowd will be like, oh, he's a DTA guy, he must be good. I
mean, honestly, when you hear the music especially, but if you say Death Threat Army, people are like, we love them already.
So I thought like, because I was doing well and like our brand was doing well, I was just like, we can use that like to help these guys get a chance. Because like I was,
that's so nice. You're so nice. That's so nice.
But like, so this is all going good, and then like War, which is a place in Ohio, and it's ran by a guy named Tom.
Okay.
And it's a huge place. It's in Lima or whatever, and it's a place that they draw hundreds and hundreds of people. They have a fantastic production, everything like that. But it's a very weird place because it's very. Even though they're drawing so many people, it's like they don't exist anywhere outside of that city. Like when they're in that city, it's the biggest thing going. But on social media, if you like, there's no like, it's not. And this is before like IWTV and stuff like that. But like, it just, even though you go to these shows, if you film it yourself, then you'll have good footage and stuff like that. But it's like you go there and have this great match in front of like, you know, great production, all this cool stuff. But it's like, if you're not there at the show, you don't even know the show exists.
Okay.
And like, so like, it was great. And we had all these awesome matches and stuff like that there. But like, so one day, Orlando Christopher hits up Jack and he's like, hey, Tom is looking for 2 guys to do a tag team at this like fair show. And he was like, I thought maybe you and Aaron could do it. And then Jack's like, well, we're not a tag team. And also, I don't really know anything about tag team wrestling. And he's like, but we're fucking down for the, you know, the chance to do it. And so he like calls me or messages me or whatever. And I'm like, dude, yeah, like, cause war is awesome. And we go like right. So I get his gear made within like 4 days. And we get this like custom like singlet and tights made. We go down to this fair show and and from this point, like the whole way down, we're talking about tag team psychology because Jack knows nothing about tag team.
Okay.
So like, dude, we're going to do this. But now by this point, from being like 15 years old, I've been in like 4 different tag teams. So like, we're able to like, not necessarily use the same moves because I would never like want to do that, but like recycle some of the old stuff that I've done in the past, make it into our own thing. So it's like, we have all these kind of like moves, like kind of like in the pocket of like, hey, like, I know we've never tagged before, but like, I have this move that's really cool. Let's do this. Like, so we're like the whole way down there, we're just like kind of game planning of like, hey, like here will be our 3 tag moves we're going to do in this match. And we're going to do this. And then we go down there, we have like a great match. And then from that point, Tom was like, hey, I want you guys back on my real shows because you guys are fucking awesome. And then that's like how Death Threat Army like became more than like just me by myself.
Okay.
Of like, or me and my guys that I like believed in. It's like now we're the tag team, the Death Threat Army. So then we're at war. We win the tag team titles in like a TLC match, and it's like we're like everywhere. Like Jack and I are just like we're blowing up, and we're just like we're quickly becoming like a very, very good tag team together. We're already like pretty good friends now. We're becoming very good friends, and we're going everywhere. Everywhere wants us. Everyone wants to use us. Like, so we're having all these opportunities. We're getting all this stuff. Everything's going great. And then I start helping out at the Pure Pro Wrestling school. And that's where I start meeting like Tommy Vendetta. He's like brand new. That's where I met Carl. And like the classes of, 15, 20 people. But once again, I go there and I'm like helping coach a day or whatever. And I see Tommy and I see Karam. And it's like, well, Karam, like he's a gigantic.
I was to say you can't.
So it's
really
like, even if he couldn't wrestle at all, I was like, man, for me, for Karam, it wasn't like, oh, he needs to be Death Threat. He just needs to get out of here and go do different stuff because he has the look. He needs to be linked to somebody who can get him the exposure.
He just needs to be in the right place at the right time because he's phenomenal and he really does have the look.
Right.
Like it's the.
So like for me, it wasn't like, oh, Karam needs to be with us, but like my whole thing with him was like, you just need to not be here.
Yeah.
You need to go to like a border city. You need to go to like Seth Rollins' school.
People don't travel. Like there's people that I only see in Michigan. I don't see anywhere else.
No, most of the Michigan guys don't go anymore. And I feel like most of the guys who do out of Michigan don't come to Michigan. Like even if they live here. Actually,
yeah, that's a good point too. I didn't really think about that.
The span of like 2018 to like 2000, like basically to COVID, is like we'd wrestle like XI, but we wouldn't wrestle anywhere else. Like we would do like maybe a show a month we would do in Michigan.
Okay.
But everywhere like it was more about like expanding. Like you
want to be seen, right? And experience new things. I know you do it different. Like so
and it's like,
it can only help you.
And it's like you're not that you're never gonna make it, but it's like you've got to get in front of as many eyes as possible because eventually you're gonna get in front of that one person who can be like, hey man, you should come to this TV tape, or hey man, that was really good. You should hit this person up, or like, but you can't do that when you're not going out of your comfort zone. You can't grow as a wrestler when you're wrestling the same 6 people for an entire year, and like, and that's like for that time frame of like coming home from the Army until the pandemic is like we hardly wrestled here, and like I said, we do a handful of shows, but most of the time we just
it doesn't sound like you were here much.
Yeah, like I got into XI like a little bit after, like I was home for a while before I even like showed up at XI, and then like and then we did chainsaw because I love chainsaw, and that was like one of the places, like that was like the cool place when I first started that like gave us a shot, and we had like no business.
Okay.
Like it was like Jimmy Jacobs and Seth Rollins and Chris Sabin were the champions and all this stuff, and we're just like, you know, 16, 17-year-old kids just showing up like, hey, like, can I get on your show? And it was just like, yeah, man, you can go do this scramble and whatever. So it's like I'll always be like loyal to Chainsaw and Mikey, and it's like he's always been great, and like, and he was always like, he's always kind of like a step ahead of, or like at least in step with where wrestling is going.
I've noticed that.
Where most people are not, and like, or most promotions aren't, and like, but so then like Jack and I are doing our stuff. We're meeting all these new kids, and like I'm going to different schools, and I'm just like, I'm not necessarily like, hey, I'm coming to coach you guys, but it's like I'd be there and I'd be like, hey man, like I think this, what about this? Or hey man, you should think about that. Like, and it's just like just giving my advice or ideas or thoughts about different stuff, and then like I just kind of would like pick up new guys. Like as we went, like I would just meet a guy, and I'd be like, this guy's sweet. Like I think that they need a little bit of help, and I think with just like a little nudge in the right direction, they will like. They just need to get in front of the right people, and I can at least get you in front of the right people at my level. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, you've got to start somewhere,
right? So then, like, I always looked at it as like that. As like I can't get you to the WWE. Like I can't get you to Impact. I can't get you maybe like on all the A level shows, but like I can take you to where I'm at, and at least let you like introduce yourself, maybe get a chance, shake the hand with the promoter, and it's like. So with the guys that I would meet and believe in, like that would be like my goal for them. It's like we'll work together. You'll come on the road with us. You'll see how we do. We'll talk about our matches. We'll talk about your match if you had one. We'll go over everything, and then that just like worked. Like it's worked really well. I don't know. This is like
it does.
Then, like so then like that started going. We were doing really well. Like and then like. Kind of like as we went, we were just like we would meet somebody new, and then like Adam was finally ready to leave the MWO. We were like harassing him of like we'd go to the MWO shows.
Thank God.
Yeah, or like we'd go to the MWO shows and be like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, and we'd go to the MWO shows, like me and Jack. We'd go and like roll around with some of the guys there, and he would be like the only one who would get in the ring and like, can you show me how to do this? You know, whatever. Can you show me how you would do this spot? And everyone else would be like, these fucking wrestlers are here. Like, I'm not getting in the ring, and like. And there was a couple other guys who got in the ring. And like, but like, I would always look at it like, dude, like I'm here. And at this point, like I'm fucking wrestling on Raw and shit. Like I'm here in the building with you fucks, and you don't want to ask me like how you should make your match better. And it's like, so those aren't the people that I'm going to be like, hey, I'm not going to, the same.
I mean, fair enough. If I would ask you.
So like, and like, that could be egotistical or whatever.
I mean, no, but you're experienced and you've done things. So if I am not experienced and I haven't done things, why it makes sense to ask somebody who has.
Right. And that, like, that's kind of was like my mindset on it. It's like, so like the guys who would come up and be like, hey man, can you watch my match? Like those guys would be the guys who are like, yeah, dude, I fucking got your back. And I'll figure out how to get you to where you need to be, to get you to the place you need to go. And like, that was kind of like the system that in my head that like Death represented. And then like Jack and I were doing really well. And then like at Superkick, like I said, like the best place ever, it was like, it's a random show, like, the card comes up and it's like they're advertising matches and stuff for the Friday, and it's like me and Tommy, who's been on like he's been coming to the show. He's like did like a dark match or a pre-show match or whatever, and he comes out and he's like, he does fine. He did enough to impress the promoters and shit, obviously.
All right.
And like so the next show that they're promoting, it's me and Tommy versus a tag team there, and we're like, okay, well, we got to get our shit together. And like, so now, like, so then it's like, now we're talking like, hey, now you got to learn how to do tag wrestling. So here's the stuff that Jack and I do, but we're not going to take Jack and I stuff. So now we got to come up with all new stuff.
Well, yeah.
And then like, so we go there and we then like do tag team stuff all over again. So then like, we just use all the knowledge that I have. And then Josh, like Tommy learns along the way. And then like, and then at this point, like Tommy is just like me. Like there's clips like of us at Superkick where we like slide in the ring and get up at the same time, exactly the same way and stuff like that. And it's like, and it's on accident, but it's like we didn't do it on purpose. But it's just like at this point, like he is just doing everything that I'm like, hey, dude, you should do this, you should do that. And so he hasn't quite found like who he is, but he's like but you, like I said, you kind of have like that cheat code of like, this is what is working. You use this name as like the Death Threat Army. People will hear that. They will associate it with people who are good. And then they will at minimum, they will give you a chance to, like, as a fan, as a promoter, as whatever. So then we go and we just like, and then it's like, we take what Jack and I had built and we like get it to like the A level tier of like, for whatever reason, like we clicked on like a different way. And then next thing I know, like Jack and I are still doing tag matches. And then Jack's doing a lot of stuff on his own. And then now it's like, and I love tag wrestling. I would much rather be a tag team wrestler than do anything else. So then like now Tommy and I are going to all these like big places, like all of the like the marquee indie promotions we're going to, like Limitless and Glory Pro and Journey Pro and all these like I said, like the big name indie places. And we're going here and we're doing our tag stuff, and it's like, and we're two because Tommy was in the Marines, so it's like now we're two ex-military guys. We're coming out. We're very intense. We're very mean. We're like,
you guys are really good though.
And like, and I feel like together, like we are together. Just, like, we just work so well. And then over the course of like that year, he like starts developing or like kind of bringing his own like kind of silly personality to the mix and everything. And then we still were doing great. And then it's like the pandemic happens, Wyatt gets sick, and then he basically has to like him and Jack, like basically, and Adam and Alex, but more I look at like Jack and Tommy, they just like, they have to hold all of this together, and they like take everything that we built, because like I'm not there anymore, and they just like run with it, and they just like keep our name alive of like, we are Death Threat, and we're not tagging, we're doing our own shit, but they still go out as like representing the Death Threat, and they don't have to do that. They're their own guys, they're their own people, like they're getting their own success on their own way, but they're still just like, we're representing the brand that we built together. And like through the pandemic, it's just like they, we're only doing like these like secret shows and random backyards and stuff. I've heard about those. And they were like, I went to a couple just to like, because I was like going crazy and like, and I would go there and like cry and shit, and it would be like a whole thing, and then like I'd be embarrassed and like, but like, but they represented the Death Threat Army through like the pandemic of like doing all these shows, and then that's like basically like from that point I came back, and I wasn't really like fully committed, and I was just kind of there because I always was like, I just love wrestling. So I was like, I wasn't there to like, I got to do really well to go get signed. It's like, I'm just here because I like being here. Like I want to go have good matches. I want to go and do, but I wasn't how I was prior, and I wasn't how I was like now. I was like, I'm just here because I need like a reprieve from my real life, and I just want to come and have a good match and like, yeah, have fun. And these guys are like killing it, and they're going, like, and Josh became like the deathmatch superstar, and then Jack is now signed to Impact, and it's like, and like I felt like when they were off on their own, it's like they got to take everything that we put together like as the Death Threat Army, and then they were forced into it, but they then got to become their own people, using all the things that we learned together, or like they learned from me, and then boom, they're doing their shit. Now they're huge, and they do all their shit. The baby birds left the nest. Yeah, so that's like kind of what it like Death Threat is, and that's like what Death Threat represents is like, yes, we're a faction and a team, and we're a family, but it's also like the idea of it is like the idea originated is like to give back to people and help them and get them to the next place, and like whatever that next place is. And then like for like Karam was with us, and it got him to a place where he was able to like feel comfortable out on his own and go do his own shit. And like same with like Jody, and like she was with us, and like she was already great, and she was always going to be great, but like she was with us, and she got like, we got to like get her connected to people in the United States because she's from Canada. So then like we got to get her connected to a couple like, so not great promotions, but like lower level but get her foot in the door for these places and stuff like that. Start somewhere. And then they got kind of, now it's like to the point where like they don't need us, but like, or like they don't need it, but it's like they get to the point where they get bigger than what it is, and then now they're their own brand, their own person. They get to go do their own shit, and then like I just get to be like a small part of that, of like, even if it's like I made a 1% difference of like turning you towards the right direction, maybe not even in the right direction, but if like one thing I could say to any of those guys or any of the people that I talk to is like, if I can just get you like 1% in the right direction of where you see yourself going, then like that's dope. Like
That's the way I am too. Like even if I help just a tiny bit, I feel good to see them get where I feel like they should be,
Right.
like they deserve to be. So no, I get it.
yeah, so that's like, I don't know, that's just kind of who I am. Is like, sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm all in your business. I keep sliding.
That's who I am. Is I feel like as like a person, and then but it's like at the end of the day, like I just love wrestling, and I love people who love wrestling, and I love being able to like help people who want to get better and who have a drive to get better, and that's the kind of shit that makes me happy.
That makes me happy too. I have your picture. Not now, it's at home now, but when I was manager at the gas station 2.5 years, I had your picture right there, right to the right side of my monitor. And every time I'd feel like slacking off, I'd just be like, nope, I gotta do it. So it works
awesome.
even when you're not in wrestling.
Well, that's awesome. That makes me happy.
You're like the dad.
I became that person in some capacity, like especially to these guys, especially to like Adam, Ryan, KJ, and stuff like that, and like, which I'm happy because like I am a dad, and I've been a dad my entire adult life. Like my daughter was born when I was 19, and so like I've always been a dad, I guess. Like from everything that I basically remember, like I've always been a dad, and like so to do that for, I don't know, it's just like it's who I am as like a person. I don't even know.
No, I get it because I'm the mom friend. I've always, even when I was a kid, like I'm that friend. So I feel like there's dad friends too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm gonna look out for you for your best interest, even if you don't think it's your best interest. I'm gonna tell you what you like, not even what you need to hear, but what I think you need to hear. It's not like I'm gonna be like right. Like I'm not. Like I'm sure I definitely gave some bad advice at times, but like I definitely feel like
the intent is pure. I feel like it's forgivable.
At least I'm doing it with like a good heart at least, but yeah, that's what, because everybody refers to me as a dad, as their dad.
I'm sorry, not my dad. I had a dad, but like you give dad vibes.
Oh, it's in my guys, like my kids, like I am the dad.
You seem like the dad.
Yeah, so I get it. And I remember also like I love it. Like I love the idea that like these guys know that I am here to look out for them, and they know they can come to me with their bullshit, even when it's not wrestling bullshit. And like they just need to talk about. And I guess that's something of like I've lived a great life, but I also had like a very fucked up life of like I've had like a lot of trauma of being in like a shitty childhood, and then I've had a lot of trauma as being an adult and having a sick kid, and I feel like I've been a part of a lot of different things where I have a lot of good perspective to be able to like help people. So when they call me and they're mad about their girlfriend, or they're mad about their, you know, they're mad about a promoter, or they're mad at work and they want to do this, and I was like, I've done it. Like I've already been there. Like I've been there. I've already done it. I've already made all the mistakes. Like, and maybe what I'm telling you isn't the right move, but I know what I did wasn't right.
You know what you shouldn't do.
Right. So it's like I can tell you that like I did this and I regret it, and I think about it all the time. And I can tell you that if you are the person I think you are, if you do this, you're doing it in a moment of being mad or angry or in a rage, and you're gonna think about it every day for the rest of your fucking life. And like because I've done those things. Like I've been in those places. I've been like, fuck man, like and I wouldn't even like to think that I did a bunch of like fucked up shit, but there's different times where I'm like, at minimum, I wish I would have communicated my feelings better.
I feel like there's a lot of like mental illness. There's a lot of people I really feel should just go to some therapy while you're wrestling.
Oh, for sure. But it's like, I just like, for all of it, like being, like I said, being a kid to being an adult or being like a teenager, and that's like when my mom passed away, and then going into like being a young adult, and I already have a kid. I've had 10 different jobs, and then I go into the Army and I kind of like get shit together, and I come home and I still come home and do stupid shit, and like but then it's like, but when I'm talking to someone who's 19, I can, or 20 or 22, 23, I can tell them like, hey man, like I I haven't been in your exact situation, so I don't know exactly how you're feeling, but I can tell you that I've been in a similar situation, and this is how I handled it, and fucking, I'll stay up all hours of the night wishing that I could go back and just say this instead of that, or just be there in a different way, or approach the situation in a different way. And like, there's been plenty of times where Adam is calling me freaking out about work stuff or girlfriend stuff, and I'll be like, dude, like, listen, I've done it, dude. And me and my wife are still together. You know, like, we've been together for a very long time, but like, there was like a 2-year period we weren't together, but there was also a 4-year period where I fucking hated her, and we were together, and like, but my daughter was there, and it's like, I'm not gonna leave this bitch. Like, this is my goddamn whole life.
Yeah.
So it's like, I will be miserable for the rest of my life just to make sure I get to see her every day.
Aww.
And like, so I came from a home where like our dad was shitty and awful, and when he left, we were happy. We were like, fuck yeah, dude, this is awesome. And then he would come back around. We'd be like, man, like, fuck out of here, dude. Like, we don't want you here.
It's
and like,
better without you.
yeah, but like, our mom was very codependent, and like if he would give her any time of the day, she would bend over backwards to do whatever. And like, but as kids, like, we hated that. Like, we were like, dude, like just go away and like stay gone. And like I said, like, every year he'd like pop back up and be like, hey, like, you want to go to, you know, Meyer? And like, but you're like, you know, 9, you're just like, I don't, but like, I guess, like, and then like, I don't know, we don't need to go on all that shit, but like, but then like, you know, like he ends up leaving for a really long time. We like maybe like hear from him once in a while, but then like, my mom passed away when I was 16 or 17, and he like tries to like show back up, and I'm just like, I feel like at first I was like, it is nice to have somebody here, but my grandma, she's passed away now, but she was like everything. Like, she's the one who, we lived with her, we took her in, she took us in, she took care of us, she's the one who, she took us to Disney World.
Aww.
She's the one who like did everything for us, and like she's the one who paid for all of our clothes. She did everything. She was like,
Super
I will
grandma.
start crying right now.
I'm
Like,
sorry.
you know, but she was like the best. And so like, without
Make me
her,
cry.
I don't know where we'd be. But like, so like, when my mom started getting really sick, my parents were both really bad alcoholics, so she ended up like, her liver just stopped working one day.
Oh.
And so she was like super sick for like years. And then like, that eventually got to a point where like she couldn't work, she couldn't do anything, so we like moved in with my grandma. And then, even though like my mom was like sick and felt like shit and was like essentially dying, she was still so awesome. Like, she was so like empathetic to everything around her and everything going on, and like all of my friends. And like, I remember like, we were like 15, and my like best friend thought he got this girl pregnant, and he didn't tell any of us, didn't tell his parents, but I went to my mom to tell her. Like, that's the kind of person she was. And she was fucking awesome. Like, she was the one who would make, like, she would like, when we moved in my grandma's house, it was like, we weren't allowed to like have people staying the night. So my mom would like sneak the kids downstairs and like, just like, you fuckers be quiet down here, and I will make food and I will bring it down. Like, but like, Grandma Coco can't know you're here. And she always knew, but she had like a bad hip, so she couldn't go downstairs. So like, she would be asking us about it, like, oh, the fucking TV's up too loud. But she always knew, like, and like, so like, my mom eventually, like, she passes away, and like her body just like shuts down, and like, and my dad tries to come back around, and for like a moment we were like, and I felt like my brothers did do this, where like I did it up until Bailey was born, of like, yeah, like, you know, we haven't seen him in a really long time, you know, like, maybe he's changed, and like, let's give him a chance. And I felt like we did spend a little bit of time together, like, after that. And then my daughter was born, and then like the second, I remember like in the hospital, like looking at her and not even being like, I mean, I definitely was like, oh my God, like, this is crazy, like, this is awesome, and like, or like also being scared, but like, being like, but like, this is beautiful. But then like, I remember having like this vivid thought of like, how in the fuck could he do this to us?
Yeah.
And like, and then I was just like, I'll never do that. Like, I will never be that guy to you. And I'm talking fucking 5 minutes old, but it's like, I'll never do this to you. And like, but then from that point, I was like, fuck him. Like, and then like, they'd be like trying to go to like Tigers games and shit. I'm like, I'm busy. Like, I don't got time for you. And then like, And then like a couple years go by, and he does do really well. Like he always he would reach out, and by all means, he was a different person. Like he had grown up. He went through a lot of crazy shit as a kid. He had fucking two different dads that both died in front of him. Like,
oh God,
he came up in a really bad situation, and not that it's an excuse.
No, but there are reasons why people act the way they act.
Yeah.
So it's at least you can understand it.
Yeah, and maybe at this time, or definitely at this time, I didn't understand it. But but he definitely like came around. Well, I guess I understood it enough because I would let him see Bailey, and I would let him like hang out and stuff like that. And then and then we went to the Army. But like I said, it was very rare. It was like every once in a while. And then we went to the Army. We moved down there. Like basically would never talk to him. Maybe every once every 6 months. He'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" But I was like, "Nothing. Like, what do you want?" And then but during this time, like him and my brothers have all gotten like really really close. And everyone experiences things different. But I remember our childhood being so different than like the way like my older brother would remember it.
Yeah,
and it's weird. Like because we were talking about this the other day of like. I remember like his new wife, which she's great, and she was always really awesome. But she was afraid for me to like speak at his funeral. Like, he's dead too. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
But she was like afraid for me to speak at his funeral because like she was like, Aaron doesn't fucking like this guy. Like, so I'm gonna go up there and say something crazy about him. And like, which I would never do. But like, even if I like truly felt that way, I would never do that. But like, I remember him like he was always great with Bailey. I thought that he like. I definitely, he had a bunch of other grandkids too with his new wife's kids.
Okay.
And then he was always great with them. He was like the perfect grandpa to those kids. And then for as much as I would let him see Bailey, he was great with her. And but still didn't take the sting away. And then but I dealt with it. And it was like, okay, cool. Like you're a good grandpa. That's cool. And then I forgot where I was going with this, but I'm in the Army. I come home. We still don't even though he lives right around the corner at this point, we still don't hanging out a lot. I remember he called me one day and he was super drunk and he was like, "Will you come over?" He was trying to use a Ouija board.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
And he was insane. And then but he was also I also feel like he was a child. And it's and I feel like that's probably a part of me is because of his he was just a kid. Even though he was
I mean, when you experience a lot of trauma, you don't develop properly. Well, it's not until the trauma's done where you start growing up.
His imagination.
Oh,
less about being childish, more about being he would fucking build a train town, a town out of. You
have imagination, though.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Is I felt if I get that from anybody, it's definitely from
me.
And but I remember spending a little bit of time together. I remember my grandma. Who also, like I said, she's great. Love her to death. That's awesome. She did everything for me. But she was fucking crazy. She had 29 cats at one point.
Holy shit.
And she had them all spayed or neutered.
Okay.
She would try to take care of them all, but her house smelled like absolute death.
I can't, yeah.
She wouldn't leave the house. She was old. She had 2 hip replacements, 1 knee replacement. She'd been retired at this point for a handful of years, and she definitely wasn't taking care of herself, and no one was there making her take care of herself. And but she was also still awesome. And no one would go see her because none of they would my brothers would poke in and be with a clothespin over their nose and be like, "Hey grandma, everything okay?" Okay. But I would go over there and just hang out. I'd go and I would just I couldn't sit in the house because it was awesome. But I would walk in, I'd pop, even if it was the middle of winter, I'd open every window, I would open the doors, I would just go around cleaning everything and then I would scare all the cats outside and everything because they were essentially feral, except to her. And then but she was ordering thousands of dollars of stuff off of QVC.
Oh goodness!
And she ordered this big fucking cabinet thing, and she had a kid who would come over and she would he was a neighborhood kid and he would come over and change the litter box and she would pay him a couple bucks or whatever.
Okay.
And he did a terrible job. I don't because she wouldn't get up and check. I don't even think he would do it. I think he would just come and yeah, it's done. And and I remember he was over there. I wasn't there yet, but he was "Oh, there's a box of stuff. Oh, I can put this together." And he opens this big extravagant armoire of a very extensive cabinet thing, and he can't put it together. And he's just okay, well, and he leaves. So when I walk in there, I was "Oh, hey,
Lord.
what is going on here?" And I'm trying to put it together, but I'm an idiot. and I cannot do that kind of stuff. So
I'm
then,
not good at that
like,
either.
I was just like, dude, I don't know what to do. And I'm like trying, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just gonna give up on it. I feel like I probably called my brother first, and it was like, no. And so then I called my dad, and I was like, hey, like, your mom's over here with a fucking cabinet that's just like strewed about the house. Like, will you come over here and help me put this shit together? And then like we do it, and we have like a really good time, and like we're like fucking around, and like you know, we're joking and having a conversation. It's like a 6-hour endeavor that we're like,
God damn.
and like we get it all together, like, and we're like super pumped about it and stuff, like, and then like and I was just like, man, like that was cool, like, and I feel like that is like kind of when I was like, oh, this is like, he is different than what I remember him as. And then like fucking like a couple months later, he has like a brain aneurysm.
Oh.
And like they're going to like North Dakota to see like his wife's kid who lives out there, and like they like stop in Minnesota to go to like the Mall of America or something, and he has like not a brain aneurysm. He dies from a brain aneurysm eventually, but he has like basically like a heart attack.
Oh.
And like he is like without oxygen for like 10 minutes, and his wife's trying to give him like CPR and stuff, and people get there, and he's basically like a vegetable for like the next like year, and like and he's just kind of like hanging out in a chair for like the next like year, and like we go visit him every now and then. He goes into like a nursing home, and then eventually like just kind of out of nowhere he like has a brain aneurysm and dies. And then I was kind of like, oh yeah, like that sucks, like, but I don't it's like, yeah, it sucks, like, but I know I wasn't like emotional.
You weren't close to him.
And then like, but then like we're going through all of like his stuff at my grandma's house, like going through like old pictures and stuff like that. And this is like when I got really close to like my uncle being his brother, of like it's like we're just like hanging out, and like we're going through, like, we're trying to find pictures for like his boards and stuff at the funeral home.
Yep.
And he pulls out a picture of like him and my mom when they were like in high school together, and he looks at me and he's like, you know, bud, like at one point you guys were really happy together. And then I was just like, oh, like this wasn't like, this isn't what we were like born into. Like, it
didn't start
the
like
alcohol
that.
and the drugs and stuff like took their lives over. And then that's what I remember those things, where it's like, oddly enough, that my little brother was like kind of luckily little enough to not really be.
But that's
old
why
enough.
your older brothers remember it differently.
Because like my older brother remembers it as like, yeah, there was a lot of good times. Like, hey, remember we did this and we did this, and I was like, no, I remember him pushing my mom down the stairs and shit. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember. Like, I remember him like holding a gun to Sean's head. Like, I don't remember.
That's scary.
Yeah, like, so it's like other than these like newer memories, like the cabinet thing and stuff, I don't have, and like memories with him and Bailey. Like, I was like, I don't have those. Like, those aren't even like, I don't remember anything like that. Like, I remember him. We used to go to this place, like, I don't know why we're talking about this, but like fucking, we'd go out to this place, like, it was like a kind of like a white trash like resort type thing, like as kids, like, and it was like a bunch of trailers, and it was like a private thing. But it was just like a bunch of like single wide trailers at like a beach, and it was sweet as like kids and shit.
Okay.
But, like, and it's still cool. Like we coincidentally just went out there for like a wake for somebody.
That sounds like Sandy Pines.
It probably is, but it's like it was called Leisure Lake.
Okay.
And like we had like a uncle that owned one, like his family, like that side of the family owned a trailer.
Okay.
And they like let our family go out there and use it like on every once a summer or whatever. And like I just remember me, my brothers, and my mom all went out there, and we're having the best time. We're fucking eating bugs or whatever, and like and like all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, my dad shows up, and he's just like, get in the car, like we're gonna go. And like I don't know, like, but I just remember like me and my little brother get in the car, and he like drives down to the woods, and I'm thinking that's like a fucking kid. Like I'm like 8. I'm like, this guy's gonna fucking kill us out here. And like,
oh, that's terrifying.
And it's like, yeah, and I don't know why, like, as like I don't know, it's crazy, but like as an 8-year-old, like I remember that. I remember having those feelings and shit. But it's like, but for my older brothers, yeah, remember we went out to this place and we had such a good time. And it's like, I also remember like running on foot through that Leisure Lake like complex with my mom, like dragging us behind her while she's like running away from my dad, who's like drunkenly driving like the roads to find us and shit. So it's like I remember those things. And my brother's like, but remember we went out on the boat and shit. Like, and I was like,
Oh my God,
I don't
no.
remember any. So it's like, but the perspective of it is so different. And like, so like, and also like when I was in the army, they had like that like 5 years, 4.5 years of like getting like close to him again, where I didn't.
I
have
mean,
that.
yeah, you were away.
But it was like, so like, but when my uncle said that to me, like it kind of like hit me of like this thing wasn't something that happened to me. It did happen to me, but it happened to him. Like it happened to our family. It happened to him when he was a little kid. Like this, and that's like where I kind of like gained like the empathy or like the perspective of like he didn't grow up in this like super happy home where everything was great, and like he like watched his dad die of leukemia, and like he watched his next dad who he got super close with like have a heart attack and like die at the house, and
Lord.
like, and I didn't like know any of that stuff, and like,
well, trauma perpetuates trauma, unfortunately, and if you don't stop and like look at it and be like, this is traumatic and not okay, then it'll just continue.
So then like I feel like I got to the point in that like preparing for his funeral where I had different, like I had looked at it differently. And then like I went and spoke at his thing. I wrote like a nice thing and like kind of talked about like all like kind of like recapped everything that we were saying. Like it was like I might not remember you like this, but you were this person type thing. I thought I gave a very touching speech, and like and then like kind of just I don't know, like not necessarily got over it, but it's kind of like, yeah, dude, like that sucked, but it didn't just suck for me, it sucked for him.
I mean,
like it sucked for him like growing up, it sucked for him to be in that position, it sucked for him to like be exposed to the drugs and the alcohol he was exposed to, and not like and this is weird too, like my mom was we would legit, me and my older brother, we would go to like the party store and threaten them and be like, if you sell our mom alcohol, I will come here and I will fucking burn this place down. And like and they like, and she would legit like she would hide like fifths of like a vodka in the toilet at the gas station, like in the tank.
Wow, that's
and,
dedication.
Like, and we would go like we would go into her fucking room and like toss the room and be like, where is it? And she's like, oh, I'm not drinking. She was drunk, but she was like, and we didn't know any of this until like way later. And like, but like, it was just like this thing happened to them, and like all while this is happening, and like my mom is sick and she's like, she needs help. She needs therapy. She needs all this stuff. At that time, no one's saying like, hey, you should go to therapy. No one's like, hey, we have a fucking place where you could go and spend 30 days and like you could do this, or like, hey, maybe you should go talk to a therapist. Like none of that's happening. Like no one, the doctors aren't saying that to her. The doctors aren't saying that to us to go to do it. Like that didn't exist. Like
no.
Like until like I was like before I was back at the job I'm at now, I worked at a homeless shelter, and it's like I learned about all this, like all the resources that are out here for people. But it's like in that time, like the early 90s and stuff like that,
there was not much of anything,
or it wasn't promoted, like one of the two. But it's like, so it's like I can see now where like there wasn't necessarily like a way, like it's just like they were stuck here, and they were stuck in this like in the storm of just everything is, they're just getting by, they're barely like, you know, they
you can't do better if you don't know better,
right? So then, like, and I felt like over like the last couple of years, I've definitely like had that perspective of like, man, dude, like this does suck, but like I don't feel like the hatred that I'd felt, and I don't feel like that kind of stuff like towards him anymore, and like I feel like it all came from like just like seeing like a picture of us as like a family when we were kids, and it was like before they maybe not like ever drank, but like before they were like drinking, before they were doing drugs and stuff like that. And it was just like, man, one day it just like happened, like, and like and it just like everything got fucked up, and like I would know now, like if I was in that situation, that I like, I mean, you can get on Facebook and just like see like, you know, better help or this or that, like, but like those kind of things didn't exist for them. And I like, especially like looking back on everything that like my mom had went through, is like I wish I had like the info that and this was 2006, like it's like I wish I would have had the info to be able to be like, hey, like we're just gonna go to like a rehab and like hang out, and like we'll come and hang out with you every day, and like we'll fucking play cards and shit like that. But like no one said that to us. Like no one was like, your mom should do this, or hey kids, like yeah, you're watching your mom like die in front of you. She just had like 60% of her liver removed. You should probably see a counselor for that. Like and like so I kind of felt like for them, like I said, not that it's right or wrong, or not that it's right, because it is wrong, but it's like but they're also kids too. They're 22, 23. Like my mom died when she's like 34, and like,
Wow. That's young.
yeah, like so it's like they don't know, like they didn't know, and like no one was there to be like all we knew was just like we're gonna search her every day to make sure that she's not drinking, and like but we didn't see it as like the disease of like what it is and like how it can like manipulate your brain and like change how you think and like we didn't
Very
see it that way.
literally.
Yes, like and like but in that moment like we didn't like especially as kids, and I wouldn't expect kids even now to see that.
Oh God, Lord,
but, like,
no.
But as like an adult, I see like and I didn't drink until I was like 30, and then like because of all this, and then like when I was 30, like I'd only known like a bad side of drinking. So then like when I met my wife and like her best friend at the time, they would go out to the bar and they would have so much fun. I would go and I would just be like ready to like get in a fight with people. It's weird because I cannot be at a bar. Like I have so much anxiety. I feel like I have so much anxiety like in regular life.
Hard same.
Yeah, like but like being in a bar is like hard.
I
But,
would
like,
not have thought you had anxiety at all. Zero amount.
I feel like that's part of like where people think like I'm like an asshole is because like and this is weird too because like some days I feel so fucking good. Like right now I feel like I feel good. Like I'm like fuck yeah, we're talking, we're having a good time, or I'm talking, you're just kind of listening.
I'm
like
interjecting occasionally.
But some days it's like some days like I'll legit get up in the morning. I'm like I'm gonna go to the store because I just want to see somebody that I know and say hi and be like, hey, how are you doing? But then it's like most days I'm like I can't even like look people in the eyes. Like it's crazy. And like even like when Adam showed up today, we were coming down the show. Like I went out with my brothers. We had breakfast. I thought we had this good time. We were having fun. And I come home and we yesterday we had this great show. Everything was great. And like. I come home and I'm feeling good. We go to bed. We wake up. I go to breakfast with my brothers. We're doing all this fun stuff. I come home. We just got 2 kittens. They're running around the house. Like, my kids are there. My wife's there. We're having a good time. And she plays football, so she's leaving to do like a tryout. They're holding tryouts for their team. So she's going to like help facilitate that. And I'm just sitting there like playing on my phone. The cats are running around. I'm like washing like my wrestling stuff and stuff like that. And then. By the time Adam shows up, he's like, hey, man, how you doing? I'm just like, hey, like, what's going on, man? Like, hey, what? And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, and it's like, I should be pumped, dude. Like, we're going to a show. We're going to go have fun. It's like, for, like, whatever reason, it's just like, I can't do it. And, like.
I get it.
Like,
100% I get it.
And I felt like I wasn't always that way. And maybe it was like the opposite of, like, one day I would have, like, this, like, really good. Like, or I'd have this like really bad day where I'd be like, man, this sucks. Mm-hmm. And then like, I'd be like, you know what? I don't want to look at anybody. I just want to stay at home. And then like, but then I would feel like majority of the days I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude. Like we're out here, we're having fun. And then like slowly it's like over time, it's just been like a slow, like descend into like being like, I don't know, like awkward around people and shit. And like just being like, hey, like, I don't know, like it's, and it doesn't even make sense because I'm fucking cool as fuck.
You are cool as fuck.
But yeah, it's just like, I know it's like I'll wake up and I'll feel like all foggy and shit. And I'll feel like my brain doesn't work. And I'll just feel like they're going to say something to me and I'm going to be like, not know what to say. And it's like.
That's how I live every single day, sir.
So it's like, I don't know, it's weird. And I feel like part of that is like where it comes from. It's like, and I know I have like a serial killer face.
I mean, you
like,
look you're scary. You're not mean looking. You look like somebody I wouldn't want to fuck around and find out with.
And I don't try to be that way. And like,
if you cut me off in traffic, I would let you. I wouldn't honk. I'd be like, oh no, he can do whatever he wants. We're all good.
Yeah, I get that, and it's like, and I don't mean to be, and it's like, and I guess part of it is
sorry.
Like, part of it is like, I don't know, part of it is just like how my face is built here, but like, but then I feel like part of it is just like I do like have a weird like I don't know, like I was like.
I've been told I have resting bitch face too, which is why I try to smile when I catch myself like. Because I don't want to look mean. You don't think I do?
No.
People tell me that all the time, and I don't think I do either. I think I look like kind of just like
chilling.
Chilling, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that about you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's like, and I know I'm an intense person, but I'm
intense. Oh my God, yes, that's the most perfect word ever.
Like, but I feel like I am like it's like I don't like. I am. Like, I feel like I do shit hard. Like, I feel like when I, like, love my people, I love them. Like, and there's not, like, a middle ground of that.
I'm the same. I'm a light switch. I either love you to, like, infinity and beyond, or, yeah, no, I'm good.
And I definitely, like, and I feel like that's how I am with, like, all things that I do is, like, I am, like, I'm, like, at one end of it, or I am, like, at, like, just, like, maybe not, like, a hate, because I don't, like,
No, just like, just don't fuck with it.
Like, yeah, and I was like, but it's like, even like I said, like today, like I love Adam to death, and like he walks in the house and he's like, hey, and he's like super pumped, and I'm just like, hey, like, and I'm just like, and I'm like, I'm now walking around getting the rest of my shit to leave, and I'm like, why am I doing? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you feeling like this? Like you should be pumped. Like, why didn't you give him a hug? Like, why didn't you say like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, and it's just like, and then it's like. Now I'm just like caught in this like spiral of conversation with myself of like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?
Oh, I do that.
So like, and I feel like that's part of like my, like, I don't know, like my image of like this guy. I don't think people say I'm an asshole, but like,
no,
I feel like if you don't know me, especially like for wrestling, where like, I'm not like a big deal, but I am a big deal. Like
you are a big deal.
Like,
yes.
in the, like our area, like I feel like my face and then mixed with the idea of like I am a big deal, and then mixed with like it's hard for me to, not every day, but like it's hard for me to come to you and be like, hey man, like how are you doing? Like then people are gonna be like, hey, like this guy didn't come and say hi, like fuck him, like, or he's an asshole, or he's mean, or he's like whatever. It's like I try not to be that person. And like I don't know, it's I always try to like Jack is the best at this. Like he is the most happy person, and like every time you see him, he's the happiest he's ever been. He's like smile and hugs.
Yes.
And I like every day I'm like, man, I just like I want to be like that. I want to like I want people to know that I like, because it's like I do love them. Like so there's like when Adam walks in, I want to be like, hey dude, like
I feel like they know.
But yeah, it's like I want to be like, dude, I fucking love you so much. But then it's like I'm like fucking like trapped in this like weird thing that like I can't get out of. And like it literally drives me insane. And then like there'll be like days where like I'll be like having like the fucking best time, and then I'll be like, dude, I'm afraid to like go to bed because I know like when I wake up it's gonna be gone and I'm gonna be like this other person. And like
I get it.
Yeah, so
I
like,
really do. Like not even on a level like I get it completely. I understand, because I'm the literally exact same.
So yeah, like I feel like that is like definitely a thing that I like. I don't know how we even get to these places, but like
I invite bunny trails, I guess.
But yeah, so like but I feel like I try to battle that every day, like for especially like when it comes to shows and shit. Like today, like when I walked in, I was feeling a little better. Like on the drive down, we were like I kind of got into like a better mood as we were coming down. And I got in and like we sat in the car for a minute. And I was like, dude, I'm just like I don't feel like I'm ready to go in yet. And then Adam starts like getting everything out. I was like, fuck, man. Like I go in and it's like, okay, you're just gonna go make an effort to say hi to everybody and like talk to them. Like just say something, do something, even if in a moment it's not real. Spark a conversation where then like you can get out of this thing, which is like kind of what you've seen today is like I just kind of bounce around to like a handful of people. And like I love Jenna and Ross, and like I would probably talk to those guys regularly. Like maybe not at the extent I was talking to them today, but it was like kind of like my tool of like, hey, you're gonna kind of go like fake it, but that faking it will like kind of bring it out of you, and then you'll feel good. And then
it seemed that what you were intent and purpose, that's what I got from like your body language, which is why I didn't come interrupt, because it wasn't just because you were, because I've interrupted people before. It was your body language while you were talking with them.
I was using them.
Abusive relationship means you pick up on a lot of micro things. Right. So
I just felt like I used it like as I like in my head I was like, you're gonna just go try, and that will help. Like, and then like, you know, you'll end up in a conversation with somebody who'll be asking about what they should do. And then like, if I talk about wrestling, it doesn't matter how I feel, because then it'll be like right back in it. And I'll be like, fuck yeah, dude, we should do this.
Get your head in the game.
Yeah. So then it's like, but yeah, so it's like, I said, I don't know how we get to these places, but like, I feel like that's like where I'm at as like a normal life of like I said, I feel like I'm trying to tie this into whatever fuck we were talking about, but there's nothing there. But that's where it was, and like that's just, I mean, that's pulling back the blanket of my anxiety.
It's real though, and I really wish I'm quite open about it, even though it's embarrassing to me sometimes. But I feel like if you don't talk about it, even if nobody comes up and says, "Oh yeah, I totally get that. Thank you for saying that. That makes me," like, there's a chance, and if there's a chance that anything that I'm saying can make people feel less alone or you know, less like, then I'm gonna say it.
Right.
So
yeah, like, I felt like when I was working at the shelter, like I got like a lot more in tune with like how, like, I felt like definitely prior I was depressed, but I was supposed to be depressed. Like, not supposed to, but like there was so much bad shit going on, and like, so like for me, feeling the way I felt was normal. Like,
yeah.
And like I didn't want to feel that way, but like I just like, it was just like I knew that eventually this would pass in some capacity, and like I would, like, things would go back to normal, or new normal would be, you know, would be put in place.
Okay.
And that new normal might not be as good as it was, but like the normal will come back, and it will level itself out at some point, regardless if it's fucking, you know, heaven forbid, Wyatt dying, or Wyatt being in the situation he is, or maybe he like makes a full recovery and nothing's wrong with him. Like that, the normal will come back to the certain. But in those moments, I was like, I'm supposed to feel bad. It's like my grandma had just passed away. We missed that part, but like my dad passed away, and then like she, crazy enough, has like a brain aneurysm from like the stress of him dying.
Oh Lord. And
then she goes into like she goes in the hospital. She's in the hospital for a couple months, and they basically tell her like, you need to be at a nursing home, or you can go home, but someone has to be there with you all the time. And like I like move in with her for like, she comes home, so maybe like for like 6 months, 9 months, like I like living with her, and eventually like, the whole family like moves in, because at first it was like, yeah, I'll just be here during the day. I'll make sure you have food. I'll make sure you get to bed, whatever. And then like, and this is prior to Wyatt being sick and everything, and like they would just be at the regular house. And then it got to the point where I was just like, hey, I can't leave, because she's gonna get up and go to the bathroom and fall or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So then I was like sleeping there all the time, and it's like, so then it was eventually got to the point where like everyone just moved in. We just like stopped renting our house.
That's what we did. That's what we did with my mom, because as she moved in, because it was easier, but it was the same thing. Like, I can't do two.
Right. And then like 2 days after Christmas that year, so like right going into COVID, we have Christmas together. Everything's great. Like, we have like this, like, we got really big. We've always been big at doing like Christmas Eves together with like we go to like one grandma's house, we go to our other grandma's house, then we go home, and then we wake up, and then we do Christmas at home. And then like, but for like this Christmas, we're already there. So we're just going to do a big Christmas on Christmas Eve. Okay. And basically like the kids will open a handful of things on Christmas Day, but like we'll basically do the whole shebang that day. And then like, so then we get everything together. We have like this big party with like all of our families and stuff like that. And like 2 days later, she like goes to bed. She like gets like, what I assume probably she got COVID, but this is before like COVID was like a thing yet, of like being like, it was mainstream. Just like
far away thing.
Yeah, like she got sick, and she had like the flu, and she started coughing really bad, which then like stressed out, and she ended up having another brain aneurysm. Oh. And then like she like goes to the hospital, and they sort of like, she's done. And then like 3 months later, it's like, Wyatt is throwing up for no reason. What's going on here? And then we take him to the doctor, and the doctor like looks at, like with the light, like looks in his eye, and they're like, there's so much pressure behind his eye. What the fuck's going on? Oh, go get an MRI. And the MRI lady comes like running out and like, get down to the hospital like right now. Something's wrong. Like, get down there. And he had like a golf ball sized tumor like in his like between like his like on his brainstem basically. Wow. And then like, so then from that point it was just like, our dad dies, and it's like, whatever. But then it's like fucking my grandma dies, and like that's awful. And then like then we go into COVID, which is kind of like whatever. But but then Wyatt gets diagnosed, and it's like he goes, they do the surgery, and he's like goes into a coma for like months, like just doesn't wake up. He's on a ventilator. It's like just like they don't know what the fuck's wrong with him. And so it's like, so during that time I was like, oh yeah, like feeling bad, that's normal. Like,
oh no, that yeah, definitely.
And then like so then like eventually like everything kind of comes back where it's like he's like not able to walk or talk or anything like that, but he's able to, you know, at least move on his own, breathe on his own, stuff like that. And then like we get to the point where, you know, he's going to physical therapy and all this stuff, and he's doing doctor's appointments, MRIs, doing all these checkups, or basically like every day we're just going somewhere new to try to get him better and like make sure everything is okay, make sure nothing's coming back, make sure like all this different shit that goes into that kind of stuff. And then like at some point I remember like talking to my wife, and she would just be like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing's wrong." Like, "What's wrong?" Like, "Nothing's wrong." Like, and like I knew something, but I couldn't describe it. It wasn't like I was like trying to be like strong. Like I was just like, I don't know. Like I just like, yeah, I feel bad, but obviously I feel bad. But it was like more than that. Like, and then like one day I just feel like I was dropping her off at work, and because at this point too, like one of our cars is like broken down, and then so we were like one car, and I'm dropping her off at work, and then I'm just like I remember just like kind of saying the same thing that I was just saying to you. Is just like I like some days I just wake up and I just like can't do it. Like I can't. I feel like my brain doesn't work. I like feel like I'm like trapped, and it's like, and she's like, I don't know, like, but maybe like for the first time like understands, or like she's like kind of like on the other end of it, of like something's wrong with Aaron. I did something wrong, so now I'm going to be mad at Aaron because he's mad at me for no reason. That's kind of like how our like relationship had been. And like I would just be like, I'm not mad, I'm not this, I'm not, I just like I'm just not having a good day. But then those good days just didn't end for a long time. And then like we did for whatever reason, I was like one day I was like, dude, we should do like an Easter egg hunt for like our community, like me and the boys. And we were like, dude, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do like you know, we're going to find a church or a field or whatever. We're going to do a bunch of Easter eggs. We're going to hand them out. We're going to give away a couple prizes. Maybe we'll give away like some raffles. We'll do some bikes. We'll do whatever. And then that turned into like this like huge thing. And like I start doing it, and I'm like, all of a sudden, like I feel like great. Like I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like I feel awesome. I'm waking up. I'm like going like door to door to all these like businesses. Like, hey man, I'm doing this. Will you give me some money? Will you do this? Will you provide food? Will you like? And I'm just like going like all these places like around Flint, and they're like, everyone's like, yeah, dude, that sounds awesome. Like here's a couple bucks, or here's we'll cater. We'll do this. And then like that kind of just like keeps going. I'm like this whole time I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like I feel so good. And it's like probably like 3 months of planning it. And then like somehow we end up getting like 100 bikes.
Oh,
and
wow.
like it turned into a huge thing. It's like we get like like somehow we get in touch with a place. The guy who runs the music at Chainsaw works at like a bike place.
Oh.
And he was like, dude, we have a bunch of bikes that we refurbish and like sell for like used that like we'll donate to you. And it was like 60 bikes.
Wow.
And then like we were getting donations, and we were buying bikes and like all this different stuff. So then like we ended up getting like 100 bikes, and we're like, dude, like it was like we had this huge gym, and it was like the Tuesday before the event. And like I'm so pumped, I'm like so proud, and like I see all the bikes in this big gym, and it's just like everything looks so empty. And I just like start thinking to myself like, what if it's not enough? Like, what if somebody doesn't get something? And then like I'm like, we're in a church, and like there's people there that I've like brought in from like the boys are there, and my brother's there, and then like he had some friends who did some like charity, not necessarily charity stuff, but like event planning stuff. And they're trying to tell me like, hey, just raffle them off, you know, like not everyone's gonna get something. And I was like, no, fuck that. Like everybody has to get something. Like, because if I was a kid, I would be the kid that comes that didn't get it. Like,
same. Mm-hmm,
and I was like, and I'm yelling at them.
Shit.
Yeah. And I was like, and this is like I remember going to, and I didn't go to church a lot as a kid, but like I went to a church with my friend, and they were doing like a cakewalk. It was like, you were doing like what is it, like with the chairs, they would take a chair out.
Yeah. Musical chairs?
Musical chairs. So doing like musical chairs, and the winner will get like a pie. And we're doing this, and I fucking win this like cheesecake thing. And I'm like 14, and I am fucking so jacked about it. And like I just remember feeling so good about winning this pie, and it's a fucking pie. It didn't even matter, but it was just like I was like,
I so rarely win things. I freak.
That's
when
what I'm
I
saying.
do.
So
yeah, I
like,
don't care what it is. It's a pen. Woo!
But I just and it's like I remember coming up in this situation where we get left out of doing all this different stuff. We're getting left out of being able to play sports. We're getting left out of being able to go on field trips because we don't have money. We don't have we don't have anything. So it's like, so now I'm like having this like breakdown of like, we have to have stuff for everybody. Like I don't know how we do it, but like and now I'm yelling at this lady who I don't even know, and I'm just like, listen, we are not raffling these things off, like, because like we're like, it's just like there has to, like, and I'm not saying there is a better way. Like I said, I'm yelling. Like I was like, I don't know if there's a better way. I don't think that, like, I don't know if there is. I don't know what the idea is. I don't have a better plan. But all I'm asking is for you fucking assholes that I brought here to help me to fucking brainstorm with me, come up with at least another idea. And if it's not as good as raffling them, then fuck it, we'll raffle them. But I was like, all I ask is that you fuckers help me think. Just bounce some fucking ideas off the wall. And then this bitch is like, fuck that, it'll never work. It's gonna be a shit show. And she fucking like leaves. And I'm just like, okay. Like, so now I'm like they don't leave that night. Like but they never come back after that. Which on one end understandable, but on the other end they're like, fuck her. And like also like during the time working with them, like I was like, yeah, fuck these people. But like but because she was an event planner, I thought it was gonna be helpful. And like it wasn't. Like I was still doing all the work. I was the one, like she was basically just being like, look, we're like, I'm planning this event. Like, no, bitch, I'm planning.
I feel like if somebody has a good idea, because I consider not leaving children feel left out a good idea, you should help encourage that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, but like literally saying like it's going to be a dumpster fire. This is the shit that they're saying, and I was like, maybe it will, dude. But and maybe it is the best way. And she's like, I've been doing event planning for fucking 20 years, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying, let's just bounce some ideas around. And then like me and Adam and my brother, like, and like my wife, we leave there and I'm like, I was crying and shit in front of all these kids. We're doing like fucking, church and stuff. And I'm just like, there has to be a better way. And then like, we're sitting around and we're just like, dude, we have to do something. And
are you being summoned?
Yes.
Oh, you are being summoned.
Hold on.
You're fine.
Hello. Oh, really? All right, I'll be there in a second. Whoops. You missed the whole show. But like, so we leave and we're just like, dude, what if we stop? Fuck the bikes. The bikes are here, but not every kid who comes is going to need a bike. So like, let's say like, yeah, we have 100 bikes. If 100 kids come, like some of these kids aren't going to need a bike. So
That's
like,
true.
What if we have the bikes are sweet. And what if we just go get a bunch of other shit? Like instead of having like this bike room where like you get like an egg, a special egg, and the egg will fucking have whatever, and like you'll get a prize. If that was going to kind of like be the version of the raffle. Is like you get an egg with like a token in it that lets you go into the bike room. And like I was like, but what if we just do like a prize room? You go do your Easter egg hunt, and you can come in and like pick whatever the fuck you want
and what you might need.
Yeah. Okay. So then we were like, okay. So then like Adam and Jack and my brother and then myself and my wife, like we go to like Five Below, we go to Walmart, I get a hold of a bunch of different like random people, and they're like, dude, like we have these, like there's a couple of places that do like charity stuff in our area, and they got some like VR headsets that like they couldn't give out based on like however like their structure of their charity thing, because like you need a phone to use it, so they don't want to give it to a kid
who doesn't have a phone. And all right, fair enough.
So there's certain like rules with electronics where they can't give out certain stuff. So then they were like, dude, you can have all of them. Like, so then like I start reaching out with this. So now we're going like Five Below, we're going to Walmart, we're getting like little puzzle things, we're getting like little science like kits and stuff like that. And then we go and we put this fucking thing together, and it's fucking awesome. And like my wife is dressed up as the Easter Bunny, like her best friend's dressed up as a carrot. They're walking around, they're like escorting kids to different fields to do fucking shit. And then we're like after you do your Easter egg hunt, you come into the prize room. The prize room's all jacked up, has all kinds of stuff going on. And then kids are coming in. They're like, oh, if you need a bike, they got a bike. If they didn't need a bike, they got a ball. And like even just a basketball, they were like, I got a basketball. Like, hell yeah. And I just remember like leaving there being like, dude, we fucking did it. That was fucking awesome. And I felt like, so all that, I was like, man, I feel so good. And then like that kind of goes like away, and we kind of go back to just kind of doing nothing and like hanging out. And then a lady who works at the homeless shelter brought her grandkids there. And she like went to the pastor and like, what you guys did was pretty awesome. And the pastor was like, this has nothing to do with us. Like this, we're hosting it, but these guys did all this. Like we didn't do anything. And she was like, oh, so the lady, she comes up to me and she's like, like you guys are so nice. And like, I was like, oh, thanks. And she's like, you should come work at the shelter. Like you would be great at that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't think I can do that kind of stuff right now. Like I have a son. He's like basically like a full-time job. Like I am his like sole caretaker.
Yeah.
And like I am a chauffeur. And like, so I was like, I can't. And like a couple months later, she calls back and it's like, hey, I was just, calling to check up on you and like see if maybe you change your mind. And I was just like, like things are a little bit better. Like he was going to start going to school like part-time.
Okay.
And then like, so then we got into like, just come do like a ride along. Because like we weren't working in the homeless shelter, we were doing like outreach.
Okay.
And so we were working with like, so our program was called PATH. And so you work with people who have a serious mental illness or co-occurring substance disorder or substance abuse.
That's what I went to school for.
So yeah, so like I did the ride along, and I remember like the very first day, like I don't work there, I'm just there, and we meet a guy, and he's like homeless, he's just like living outside, and he gets Social Security for his mental disorder, and like he somehow lost his card, or it was some convoluted way of somehow he like lost his debit card for like 6 months and had no clue. He was just like, yep, it's gone, I don't have no money now, it's kind of what it does. And he's just like, yep, the money's gone. And I was like, dude, like I can help you do this, like we can figure this out. And then like so then like we sit for like an hour with him, and I get his like Social Security like rerouted to like a Cash App that I make for him.
Okay.
And then like we had to call a handful of places, but like end up getting like 6 months worth of like all of his money put back into his like new account.
All right.
And then we were able to get like, and then we were able, but then like, so like that day I leave, I feel so good. I'm like, dude, I love that. Like I want to do that forever. And then they like call me back like a couple of days later and like, do you like it? And I was like, yeah, dude, I loved it. And then like they're like, okay, like you can start like on Monday or whatever. Or actually I'm starting on Wednesday, but that's whatever. So we were able to like use the money that like our grant has along with the money that he already had to like move him into an apartment and get all the stuff. Like, so then like we did that for like 18 months of like, we would just drive around Genesee County and find people and like fix whatever was going on and like get them reconnected to like their. That's
so needed.
It was amazing. So that happened forever. And like, so like for like, you know, almost 2 years I was working there. I loved it, but I was also like making no money doing it. And, and we were working, we only got paid for 40 hours, but we were working so much more than that. And it was like, we were doing it by choice. Like we were just like the girl, like I worked with 2 girls and they were great and they're still great. But it was like, we were too passionate for our own good.
Yeah.
And we were just going nuts. And like, we would do anything and everything to make sure that like we got that shit going.
Did you burn yourself out?
No. I mean, we don't have time now, but like, I gotta go wrestle.
I'm so sorry.
Like,
did I really miss the whole show?
It's intermission.
I'm a fucking mess.
So like, my old job calls me. I haven't worked in like 5 years, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to come back." And I was like, "Fuck no." And they were like, "Just make an offer, and we will give you that." And I was like, "Dude, I want like 80 grand." And they were like, "No." And like, you got to be reasonable. And I was like, "I am being reasonable. I don't want to work there." And then they come back with like a very reasonable offer, and I was just like, "Dude, like." I'm doing like Shipt and Uber Eats orders and shit at night just to like pay the bills. And I was like, I can't say no. So I go back and I go and do that, and it's great. And I love my job now too. And like, so then like, but even now, like I still like some of the people that like my clients at that time, like I still am in contact with. They still call me when they have fucking problems and stupid shit like that. I still stop and fucking hang out with homeless people for no reason. And like,
you're a decent human being. That's why.
Yeah, but it's like we have a kid, and he's not a kid, but he's an adult. But like, he's like 21. He's a kid.
He's a kid,
and he has really, really bad anxiety and everything like that. He was one of the last people that we got Social Security for. We got him into an apartment. He's like living a good life, but he's also having a lot of issues. His like best friend, she had moved away, and she's another person that we'd helped and got everything situated for. And he was having a really hard time. And so his best friend like called me and was, "Hey, we just like go check up on him." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll go and like see what's going on." It's like, man, I don't want to just like call him and be like, "Hey, are you good, man?" So then like, this was like 2 weeks ago, and I call him, or I don't call him that night that she called me and asked me to check up on him. But I called him the next day and I was like, "Hey, you want to come to a wrestling show?" And he was like, "Yeah." So then I take him to like the Battle at the Creek show.
Oh, wow.
That was the kid that was like sitting there.
Yeah.
And he comes and has his fucking best time, and it's like, I mean, he's freaking out a lot about it, but like he's having like the best time, and everyone's being super nice to him. Like he gets to meet all these. He doesn't know wrestling at all, but he just like he was pumped and like so. But these are like, and that was like I don't know how long I would have lasted there, because like always was because we have all these different rules about like, I wouldn't call it fraternizing because that seems like sexual, but like fraternizing with your clients and shit. But it's like,
oh no, I get it. I used to work in a group home.
so I never got like on the books in trouble, but like I definitely got in trouble a handful of times because like these are my people. Like,
yeah,
I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to do it. Like, so it's like we did a thing with those two guys, the two people I was talking about. Like, it got to like Thanksgiving. These guys were both sad. They didn't have a family to go to. They didn't have anything. It's like, dude, on Thanksgiving, how about we'll go to the store, we'll buy a bunch of shit, and we'll just go hand out like Thanksgiving meals to other homeless people. And I got in so much fucking trouble for doing this. And like,
I would have done it too.
Oh, and I would do it again. I would even did it again after I got in trouble. But like, part of me kind of seen like the writing on the wall of like, if I want to do it the way I want to do it, like I have all the knowledge that I can use to help people still. I know how to direct them. I know how to get in contact with their providers. I know how to get hold of caseworkers. I know how to talk to caseworkers. I know all the stuff. And it's like, so I can still do it on my own. And also, but I can't get myself in trouble.
I mean, that's true. You're just being a friendly person. Like you're being helpful. You're being a decent human being helping other human beings.
I guess. You can come in.
I honestly don't even think they would hear you say that.
But like, yeah. So, but yeah, it's just like fucking. That's my shit. And it's like
I like that. That's your shit.
Like eventually, I was going to end up getting fired for it because I knew that I wasn't going to not do it. But like, I just like can't do it.
Oh God, they're mad. I hear angry people.
Oh, there they are. We're on next.
I'm on my way.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
All right. Here, give me my phone.
I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Oh.